I think it's going to be extremely fun.
And Armin Saryan.
Oh, man, I don't know. I hope I can live up to the hype.
Nooners. Hit the guys up on the NicolaLaw.com talk and text line at 41.
All righty, boys. All right, you crazy kids. Mics are on.
It's 9 to noon, and for the next 3 hours, we need 180 minutes of focus, intensity. Similar to how Steve Kerr said we need 40 minutes of focus and intensity for Team USA. 9 to noon is going to be that radio program for you here today. All intensity all the time. I'm Billy Schmidt, flanked by Jeff Orlowski. The Polish Pipe Bomb is here, and our returning champion returning to that seat with you on the NicolaLaw.com talking text line is John Kuhn, our two-time Super Bowl champion. John, good seeing you again. Fantastic. Looks like you got a little sun over the couple of days, and we are now rested, rejuvenated, and hey, 180 minutes of focus, intensity. It starts now. As Steve Kerr said, it is time. It is time. He quoted Kevin Green here today for Team USA. They better kick it in the ass.
Yeah. The time is now for Team USA. The time is now for the Green Bay Packers. Now that training camp is started, they got their 3 days in underwear and their day off today. That's why we are in studio. And hey, Billy, the time is now to get a contract done.
It is now. It is now.
Jordan Love. Hey, how about finding that news out on a couple of days that I was going? What in the world has been the reaction? I can only imagine people are freaking out.
You would kind of anticipate, right? You would kind of think so. So Monday, John, when we're up on the perch, you're going to love it tomorrow. I mean, it is like, obviously, I think you may have been there once or twice, Ray-Nitschke Field. But the landing zone that had been elite standing room only, we apologize, but we've now conquered and taken over. And to be able to hear all the reaction around us swirling as Brian Gutekunst was talking live on 9 to noon, I go to break after saying, that's the news. You just heard it from the Packers general manager. Jordan Love will not practice until he has a contract done. He will be out on the field, but not in a helmet. And everyone's head starts swirling around. What do you say? What do you say? What do you say? Young man from Maryland sitting right off to our right, John. He goes, Billy, I'm really sorry. I don't mean to bother you. Did you just say Jordan's not gonna practice today? It's like, no, man, he's not gonna be practicing until he gets that contract done. He goes, darn, I really wanted to see him, but I understand it. And
that's 14 hours to be here from
Maryland.
Nebraska.
Big old Maryland t-shirt on, John, and a belt with the Maryland state flag all over it.
Oh, he was from Maryland.
He had drove all the way from Maryland. It was
Packer fans are everywhere.
You better believe it.
Packer fans are absolutely everywhere in Maryland. Yeah, they
and for shareholders meeting, they were there. They're reporting for duty, sir. Oh yeah,
it was
Come
full
on now.
Full stadium.
I mean, well, John, the whole Ray-Nitschke Field was completely packed about an hour and 15 minutes before practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how they do.
The Blackstones were out in full force pre and post practice going into the shareholders meeting. Got to grill up lunch, right? Got to have a couple of sausages after practice.
Yeah, you can't go in on an empty stomach. If you go into Nitschke Field early, then you're there for a solid 3.5, 4 hours. Who doesn't get hungry? You got to eat every. Well, what do they say? You got to eat every 2.5 hours. That's what nutritionists suggest. But I mean, let's be real here. We're
more like every 90 minutes.
Yeah.
No, and that was the case. So it was. I was anticipating more visceral reaction, and we got some on the talking text line. He's under contract. I've lost all respect for him. We got a couple of those. We got a couple of. What is Brian Gutekunst doing? Another year bringing in quarterback controversy with their contract to start training camp. But then seemingly like politics, like the 90% right in the middle were like, oh, I kind of get it. I get it from both sides. I don't love it, but I understand it. And that was a little bit more surprising to me. I thought it was going to be more visceral one way or another.
Well, here is the good news. He's at work.
He is at work. Yes, he is at work.
He is at work. He is just not, he's not putting himself on the line, right? You're not going out on the line until you have that thing guaranteed. He's not going out there with the risk of an accident and having to go, we had 0 days since our last accident and having it be detrimental to him. This is when you sign your contracts if you're a franchise player, if you're a franchise running back, wide receiver, offensive lineman, maybe not running backs anymore. They get franchise tagged or let go, but just nearly about every other position. If you are the franchise guy, if you are a 8-10 year guy, you re-up with a year left in your contract. Some guys are doing it with 2 years left on their contract. So this is when you do it. And the Packers and Jordan Love understand that it needs to get done, and it needs to get done now. It will get done. What did I always say? First preseason game, right? First preseason
you said first preseason game early on.
I've been saying first preseason game is the note. That's the mark. That's where, and now, I wouldn't be surprised as this thing continues to go on. It could be Jordan Love doesn't play in the first preseason game. It could be Jordan Love signs his contract the day of the first preseason game and then just stands on the sideline. We're all happy because he is now signed and he can practice, but he won't play in that first preseason game. It could be a situation like that, but there's a lot of reason for why they are where they are. There's 3 quarterbacks this year. There's 3 guys on the market right now trying to decide, do I go first or do I go last? Do I let Tua go first? Then he resets that line, or then I go, and then does Dak go first? If Dak goes first, that's going
to be a wrench.
That is not what the Packers want. The Packers do not want Dak to go first. Dak doesn't want to go first. Because if Dak goes first and Jordan's at 55, then the Cowboys go, Dak, you're at 58. But if Tua goes at 56 and Jordan goes at 57, then Dak can get 60. That it is a stare down between 3 teams and 3 quarterbacks agents right now as to who's going to go first, why do we want to go first, and do we not want to go first? I would seem to think Jordan Love might not want to go first. Let's start weighing the pros and cons of these quarterbacks and their values and where they should be pegged. Who should go first, do you think, out of Jordan, Tua, and Dak?
I would say Jordan, because there are not the health concerns that there are for the Tua camp. The production is more in Tua's line, but I think the head trauma from a year ago is still too difficult to maneuver, and it seems like that's going to be slow.
So Tua should actually be the one who ends up signing first, because this is a pecking order.
But I don't know that the Dolphins want to give Tua the money. Like that's the problem for me. I don't think that the Dolphins want to give him the guaranteed money, John, because they're also concerned of the head issues and trauma.
And that's probably why Tua needs to go first, because it will be lower. And then Jordan Love will be a little bit higher.
But somebody's already gone first now.
Who's that?
Trevor Lawrence went first. And it's apparently ruined everybody's negotiations from where they were about a month ago.
And what was Trevor Lawrence's number? Correct me, 55?
255, 5 years, 275, 200 guaranteed, like 142 fully guaranteed.
Okay, so we're talking about 55. Does Tua, would you put Tua on the level of Trevor Lawrence?
You know how much I love Trevor Lawrence.
I do know you love a 20 and 30 career quarterback. I do know that.
Yeah, and a quarterback
but
that was
he's got flow, and you got flow, so I understand the flow bros going on right there.
And winning a playoff game down 27 points and pushing the Kansas City Chiefs into the fourth quarter.
Do you see what we're doing right here? Do you see what we're doing right here? We are doing exactly what Brian Gutekunst is doing with David Mulgeta.
Yeah,
we are both making cases on this side and that side, and you tell me who's right. I don't know who's right. But that's why these things take a minute.
So now the minute, though, and everyone's definition of a minute, everyone's definition of close has all been, John, brought to the forefront here, right? How close is close? Because like you just said, close could be 1 to 2 decisions. But they're big enough decisions that we're not going to sign here. So until a deal is done, it ain't done. And Diana Rossini last night puts in her little excerpt, just a quick little paragraph saying, a few weeks should be done. Weeks? No one's talking about weeks up in Lambeau Field this weekend. Nobody in the last 3 days have been talking weeks. John, people have been talking end of the week. People have been talking Friday, Saturday. I mean, by Monday. If we're getting through next week, and if family night comes and there's 70,000 people at Lambeau Field and 10's not in the red jersey, then some eyebrows are going to start getting raised in Packers Nation. And there's going to be, I think, some more frustrated folks if that is the case. Because people were talking days. If we are talking weeks, then I think people's concern level is going to rise here with this situation that's sitting right there at 1265.
Yeah, potentially. Okay, so when I say a minute, the actual minute, it takes a minute. The actual minute is before the season starts, right? That's when that minute expires. The minute started May 5th or 15th or whenever he was legally allowed to sign based off of the year that he signed last year. That's when that's when the minute started. And now the minute finishes sometime around the start of the season, right? He's got to play in the first game. He plays in the first game. They did their job. They did what they had to do. Now, did you optimize it? Did you use the whole minute at a little hastily? Yeah, if it lasts that long. But if it's before the first preseason game, even if he doesn't play in the first preseason game, if it's before the first preseason game, he gets 2 joint practices under his belt and 2 preseason games under his belt. Is that enough work that you feel comfortable going down to Brazil and playing the Eagles? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, he's in the building. He's doing everything but hitting the practice field. I would assume he's in the crick walking through the plays with the rest of the offense. I assume everything is business as usual. He's just not going to get in harm's way. We said Tyrod Taylor or Teddy Bridgewater. I always forget which one it was that had the line.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Teddy Bridgewater fell on his leg at practice, one of the first days of practice. And it was such a gruesome injury that linemen were throwing up on the field.
Yeah, they thought he was going to potentially lose his leg.
They were so disgusted by the injury. This was at practice with no pads on. And how rare is that? We know how extremely rare that is. Potentially close to Powerball level, right?
Sure,
for a quarterback to have his leg falling. But it's still a risk.
Yeah, but also the risk could also be from last year, John. I think it was day 2 of practice when Joe Burrow started limping off. And then remember when they grabbed the card out for a little calf injury. And then he doesn't practice the rest of camp.
And that deterred a little bit of the start of their season. That really sent them into a tailspin. So, yes, you want Jordan Love to practice every single day. The Packers want to practice every single day. And I actually think we'd be further along here had Jordan Love's camp not informed Goody on Saturday. Saturday.
Okay. So you think if they would have said it a little earlier, like a week before camp, hey, we're not putting these pads on. We're not putting a helmet on until this thing's done.
Well, how would Goody have ever known? He went through OTAs. He went through the mini camp. He went through IPWs. He did everything in the offseason, 9 weeks, exactly the way that you would expect your veteran quarterback or your franchise quarterback to go through things. And then the Saturday before camp kicks off, you get a phone call. That's a bummer. It's the way business is done sometimes. Sometimes deals get done when deadlines are pushed upon you.
Right.
So, I mean, I understand the tactics. This is not a Jordan Love tactic. This is a Jordan Love's agent tactic. And I understand the way that business gets done. And sometimes it's done harsh and sometimes it's done cordially. And in this case, it feels like it might be a little bit of both.
Yeah, and you also know this as a former player, John. There's only so much leverage that you ultimately have, and like this is kind of like the only leverage play that players ultimately have. So totally understand it. And like Love are 2 different things, and you do see where, hey, he's talking to Michael Pratt. Hey, Mike, where should we be switching the O-line protection to? He's engaged. He's showing him how to be reaching that ball out a little bit more on the play fake. He's dialed in, but there's a difference in how they're all handling these things, John. And I thought this was fascinating yesterday when it flared up because we're comparing the Tua in Miami, Jordan. Dak is, I think, a little bit different, but he does want to see these guys sign, and then he can reset the market to a different degree because neither of these guys were top 2 in MVP balloting a year ago, right? Neither of these dudes have put multiple 12-win seasons together like Dak Prescott has. So maybe a little bit different spot, but he's going to reset the market just like everybody else is. Tua went through the OTAs, the mini camp, only doing individual work and 7-on, not doing team drills. Then yesterday they get to practice. He says, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do my individual work. I'll do the 7-on drills. I won't do the team. And at least me, trying to be a professional reader into, right, read in between the lines and all of these different things, that to me made it sound like we know that we're a little bit further away here. We know this one could take a little bit more time. I felt better about Jordan's situation from reading that because I thought, all right, if both sides say, we understand, don't touch the practice field, or hear of, why don't you get yourself as ready as you can be? Because you're probably going to need to be ready without a deal. I thought those two were different dealings from the two teams of one knows they want to pay the money. The other might want to pay the money, and they're still deciding.
But don't think there's not pride with these agents. Don't think the pride is not getting in the way of things.
Very true. Yeah.
Listen, if Dave Mulgeta thinks, well, Trevor Lawrence got 55, it's just natural for us to get 57. But the Packers are waiting for Tua, and Tua's camp is. And how do you explain it to Jordan if you settle on, hey, can't get 57, Packers won't do it, but hey, we'll get 55 just like Trevor Lawrence, and then the next day Tua's camp, and then they sign for 57, right? It sounds like peanuts at the top of the jar. You still have a full jar of peanuts, and we're just talking about the last couple that go in the jar. That's what it sounds like. But there's pride. There's pride with these agents, and sometimes the pride gets in the way. It's a whole lot of money. We know it's a whole lot of money, but there is also a process that goes about these things. It's not the Packers being cheap either. It's not the Packers being cheap. It's about the Packers being fiscally responsible and trying to pay an appropriate price that sets them up, for the long run. And the Packers and Russ Ball have always been great at this. They have always been great at being able to work contracts and work the salary cap to their benefit. I mean, at one point in time, the Packers were paying the highest paid quarterback, the highest paid wide receiver, the highest paid cornerback, and the highest paid left tackle. All in the league. All in the league.
And
it's
still
not hard.
games.
It's not hard. That's kind of the way this thing goes.
Yeah.
When you hit it and you're a dynamic player like that. I mean, Jordan Love is not Patrick Mahomes. Jordan Love may not be Josh Allen right now, but Jordan Love in those last 9-10 games last year, he looked like he was.
Yeah, and
he looked like he was ready to be one of those guys.
That's the thing that's conflicting it here, because many people that are watching it and guys that are analyzing it, talking on different four-letter networks and NFL networks and company are pointing to those games saying none of these other guys have shown that, where they carried a team for 10 straight games. And it's not necessarily like the first 8 games were bad, just not nearly where it was to the degree at the end. Tim and the Shaw, pride, ? Don't you mean greed? Kenny the Slick Watts fan asked, didn't know that nugget, John, meaning about Jordan Love. And we did point it out that they had mentioned it, and Brian Gutekunst said on Saturday night, David Mulgeta and Jordan Love's camp informed the Packers that he would not be practicing until that deal was done. Kenny the Slick Watts fan didn't know that deal. Didn't know that nugget, John. Now I'm 200% on don't pay Love. Tell him to get his butt on the field, and we'll see about $60 million in February. What is he going to do? Hold out all year? Then he won't get paid by the Packers or anybody. Quickly, there's going to be more of those reactions the longer this ends up running its course. And we had talked about it a lot. Jordan's Q rating with Packer fans is higher than outside of 2010. Really, Aaron's Q rating was. People always, I believe, John, and the fan base had a little hesitation, Aaron, because one, he wasn't Brett. And people still believe that they could bring Brett over to a barbecue. He was going to outdrink everybody, put everybody under the table, and then play spades until like 2-3 in the morning, and then go home, and it would be all good in the neighborhood. They didn't necessarily see that. And then go win a football game the next day at noon, right? So they didn't see that part with Aaron. So I think Jordan's affection with the fan base was even higher. This is going to bring it down if this runs just a little bit longer. There's going to be more people, I fear, like that start dropping into the thought of, like Nathaniel and Howard, if I'm there on my first family night with my 4-year-old and Love isn't practicing, I'm going to be mega pissed. A lot more people going to be angry. A lot more people going to be agitated. I don't know that anybody really cares that much, as bad as that sounds.
Well, here's the thing. Nathaniel said he's going to be mega pissed. But who are you going to be mega pissed at? You're going to be pissed at Jordan? You're going to be pissed at Jordan. Jordan has a camp of advisors. Everybody has a team around him. Everybody has a team of lawyers. They have a money guy. They have an agent. They have a team of people that advise them of the choices they do. Even people that aren't professional athletes have a lawyer, have a financial advisor. They might not have an agent, but you trust these people. You trust them. And the advice that they give you is the advice that you take because you trust them with your greatest possessions. A lot of times it's got to do with your family. A lot of times it's got to do with your money, your estate, and you're going to trust these people when they advise you to do things. Are you going to be pissed at Jordan Love? You can't be pissed at Jordan Love. He's listening to the smartest people that he has interviewed, and he has chosen to be a part of his team. That are their sole job is to advise him. He's listening to his advisors. You're going to be pissed at Brian Gutekunst? You can be pissed at him? I think Goody knows what he's doing. I think Russ Ball knows what he's doing. I think they've given us a track record of they know what they're doing here.
The story at Yahoo Sports this morning has a quote from Brian Gutekunst that is, every day he misses is not great for our football team. We want him out there. We like him out there. We expect him out there. Okay. Well, how long until we get to see him out there, right? We can expect that he's going to be out there sooner rather than later, but how long? And John, your point is exactly it. Who are you going to be mad at? Are you going to be mad at Jordan's camp, to your point, who he is paid to help advise him? It's like when they bring in consultants into radio businesses, and then they leave all these notes, and they're like, well, we could listen to them because we paid the guy to give us all these notes. Or we don't, we just do what we've been doing, and then we see how it goes, and then we just basically wasted all this money. So that part is tough for Jordan if you're saying, I'm giving this cat 3% for a reason. Yeah. I'm giving him 3% for a reason. I'd like to know that he knows what he's doing.
And it's not just that. Like we all like to believe we have this intimate relationship with Jordan Love because he is, he seems so
helping
humble,
young girls out of
the
ditch.
And he's so respectful, and he's all of those things. But what we don't have in a relationship with him is we don't talk to him every single day like his agent does. We don't have that kind of relationship, and we don't have that type of trusted advice. And don't get me twisted, David Mulgeta is known as one of the better agents in the NFL. One of the agents that gets the most for his clients
the most
in the NFL. If you're going to pay someone to represent you, you pay the guy who gets the most for his players. That's what he does. And it makes it a difficult negotiation from time to time. I do believe that this gets done in due time. I did give you a mark of the first preseason game. I still think it gets done before then. But in the meantime, let's try not to get too pissed.
Try not to get too pissed like Eddie and Delafield. Goody needs to get this thing done. Love was his guy. I thought we sent the diva quarterback to New York. J-Love might need to settle this and start practicing. 414-799-1973. A lot more of that reaction on the other side. Who are you going to be mad at if this continues to drag through? And John's point is true. He had a deadline earlier or later than that.
Can I say something else too? Jordan Love spent 3 years with David Bakhtiari. 4 years. 4 years with David Bakhtiari, right? It was 20, 21, 22, 23.
Yeah.
Spent 4 years with David Bakhtiari. He saw a tragic injury pretty much end a guy's career days after he signed. Days after he signed a contract. Do you think if that injury happened days before the contract, he would have got that contract? The answer is no. The answer is no. So he saw that firsthand, and that happened at a practice.
Yeah. And with non-contact, and nobody was thinking there was any issue on a New Year's Eve. It's a great point. 414-799-1973. Your experiences shape your opinions and your ideas. And Jordan Love right now out of Packers practice. How long will it take? How long until you start getting mega pissed like our guy Nathaniel and Howard, who said that's going to be family night if he's there with his 4-year-old and he's not practicing? Some are already leaning on that camp. 414-799-1973. NicolayLaw.com talking text line is open for business. We're off and running and back in the saddle again the right way. Kuhn and Billy, 9 to noon, statewide on the game. 9 to noon on the game. Coon and Billy back with you. Going to have a chance for you to go to the Wisconsin State Fair 4-pack of tickets and a State Fair bargain book to give away in the second hour of the program here today. Always good to get back into the office and then realize what you potentially missed when you were gone. First off, nobody in this place today. Like, I don't know. Is that just me, pipe bomb? John, there is not a soul in this building here today. It is awesome.
Well,
and I'm like, sweet, good for everybody else here.
Yeah, the last couple of times I was down there, it was a ghost town too. So there is so much going on in Wisconsin, from the RNC the other week to Packers training camp this week to Sunburn Bowl or I'm sorry, Caddy Day today.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I mean, there's just so much going on right now. You just there's nobody in the building. And it's actually isn't it a pleasant place to be when there's nobody there?
Yeah, and Pipe Bomb's used to this because doing post games, there's never anybody in the building.
No, 90% of the time I'm the only one here.
Best part is somebody comes in here on the weekend because they forgot something, like they forgot their phone charger that they desperately need, and like, oh Jeff, what are you doing here? Working.
Yeah.
The only person working here on a Saturday in the middle of the summer. Yeah, kind of my job.
I'll be leaving for work. Kids are like, where are you going? I'm going to work. How come you don't have pants on? Because there's no one there. Who
don't
cares?
have to worry about it. But I walked through and instantly there's a box of State Fair cream puffs in the fridge.
They're gone now. You're taking them.
Yeah. Gone. No chance. I've now hid them into the other fridge, and one of our fridges just disappeared. Like, I mean, again,
a whole fridge disappeared. If you're ever going to take a fridge, the time to take it is when there's nobody in the studio.
Yes, and it's a good one. It's one of those big old coolers with the glass in front of it.
Oh, it's got the glass door, so you can see what's on
everything
the
inside. It's gone.
See, I like that.
It's like, holy cow, where did this go? How long was I gone? I was gone for 3 days. But apparently you can have a whole lot of renovation done in 3 days. New studio renovation. Didn't get a whole lot done in the 3 days. However,
they haven't swung a hammer in more than 2 weeks.
They're not taking advantage. Are they not taking advantage of nobody in the building? Listen, there's nobody in the building. There's no foot traffic. There's nobody to bump into when you're trying to lay your tools out in the hallway. You can spread out. You can do calisthenics like Step Brothers if you want to.
There's a lot of room for activities in here.
Get the new studio done.
No, not doing it. So quit asking. 414-799-1973. That is potentially, that's not hopefully the messaging we're getting. It's not happening. So quit asking. We're not budging. So quit asking. That might be the side from David Mulugeta, Jordan Love's agent, or the Green Bay Packers. Somebody's trying to budge as we're still waiting here for the decision and the deal to be done. Diana Rossini last night in just a quick little excerpt on her Twitter page in the midst of one of her pieces wrote the fact that it feels like it could be in a few weeks we're going to see the Jordan Love contract, but both sides are quite optimistic. Then this morning said Packer fans and many around the league are all waiting to hear if Jordan Love's new big money contract is complete. Based on my conversations today, it's all making progress and heading there, just not done at this time. What time does it have to be done for you? 414-799-1973. Or are you already getting to the point where you are ticked off, where you are done with this and saying both sides sit in a room and figure it out? Or like Margarita Joe said, this Jordan Love contract situation only will bother me if he misses any games in the regular season. Mike and Slinger, hey, Jordan, go get that money.
Hey, listen,
we haven't heard that one.
I love that mindset. If we come out of a preseason game and we lose a preseason game, does anybody get affected by that?
No, because I'm not betting on the preseason.
Does anybody really get
not this year?
Not this year?
Not this year. No.
I bet you do.
No, not this year. I told myself I'm not going to this year.
Listen to how twisted this is going to get. I bet that you will bet on the preseason.
I'm going to lose that bet.
I know you're going to lose that bet. I bet you bet on the preseason.
I know. I'm already scratching. Hall of Fame game's coming up next weekend. I mean, you can't expect me not to be at least.
That's the one. That's the one you're going to lose on, the very first preseason game.
Well, and if it comes with a Coons can't miss, I apologize, John. Not working very well. It has not been going very well. So we're going to pick that thing up and start winning. But
but if you lose a preseason game, Billy, are you bummed about it? Are Packer fans upset? No, in fact, I worked preseason games. I see Packer fans after those games. And if we lose them by 20, Packer fans are walking out there with a big smile on their face like, wasn't tonight a nice night? The weather was gorgeous. The weather was great. We got to see some of the youngsters. They
Uh-huh.
need a little bit of work, but it's a preseason game. This doesn't matter until the regular season. And you know what? If the Packers go down to Brazil and they happen to get boat raced in the first game because Jordan Love missed a bunch of time at practice, we will hear people screaming at the clouds. But let's just remember and recall a few years ago when the whole COVID thing was going on and New Orleans had to play in Jacksonville and we got boat raced by New Orleans in
Mhm.
Jacksonville. Ended up being the number 1 seed at the end of that season.
Yeah, ended up
Still
being
had a
pretty
pretty
good.
good season. So I tend not to get too, heavy with this situation right now. Right now, I would love Jordan Love to be practicing, but he's there. This is not a full hold out. This is what they call a hold in, Billy.
Mhm.
And to me, hold ins are much more courteous. They're much more respectful of one another. And it's just a simple way. And this is the way it gets done. The whole talk about you're under contract, you got to play. Listen, guess what? He is under contract and he will play at some point this season. And if the Packers said, we're not paying you, so see you when we see you, he would have to come back sometime around week 8 so he can get his credited season and be a free agent next year and play on a franchise tag that's worth $50 million.
Yeah.
Right? He would have to do that. He would have to, but he doesn't have to do this. And this, you're under contract. I understand you're under contract. I understand that's the way it works. I understand contracts mean you come in and you honor them. But what's different about NFL contracts that's kind of different from contracts everywhere else in the world is they're regularly broken.
Mhm.
Very regular. They're broken by the teams all the time.
Yeah.
Just because the team has a contract, they can cut you at any point in time. They're
Oh,
regularly
but we like
broken.
that side, John. Oh,
They're-
yeah, we like that one.
They're regularly broken all the time by the teams multiple. Listen, we got 90 guys under contract right now, and we will break that contract with about 40 of them.
Yep.
We will. That's the way it'll happen. And it's almost like baseball's unwritten rules. If you are a guy that's part of the future plans, you get your contract extension before you play your last year. It's called insurance. And that thing started decades ago. And it's not going to change. And if you tell me because you're in a contract, you should be in there, I would say, well, how would you feel if you worked for an employer who doesn't do it the way everybody else's employers do it?
Yeah, in the lame duck side of it is also a part of it, John. Like you mentioned, if you're going to be, and they're all independent contractors. However, there are 32 different places to be able to get contracts from. However, it's one of the only businesses inside where you are going to be exclusively held to operating with one different provider, right? So, I mean, like that's the toughest part of being able to bring these to day in and day out jobs, not only because the numbers are so much different, but the way of doing business is so different because you can only negotiate a contract with one of the 29 other in baseball, like you mentioned, operators. It's a difficult way to be able to convert it. However, Rancorp, he said we can be pissed. These advisors are jerks. A couple of different words in there that I can't say. However, we took a chance on drafting him when nobody else even knew who the hell he was. Now he's poised to make a ton of money. How about being reasonable about it? Is that just too much to ask?
He is being reasonable. He's doing exactly what any reasonable person would do. He is taking all the emotion out of it, and he is letting his agent handle it. This is not a Jordan Love holdout. This is an agent.
Yeah. And John, I understand that the Packers took a risk on drafting Jordan Love. Everybody knew who Jordan Love was. He was rumored to be a late first round pick, early second round pick. He was going at that particular point in time. To your point, he has trusted and spent money close to, hundreds of thousands of dollars to have these people advising him. At the end of the day, that's now he's putting his trust into individuals who boast one of the best resumes to be able to do it. I think this is, like you mentioned, the hold in maybe a little bit more cordial. It's also unique with the new way of doing things in the new CBA where you're not going to get fined like CeeDee Lamb is going to have to get fined and have to pay the amount for holding out and staying away from the team facility over the next CBA if he misses any practices. The other part is like you watched TJ Watt do it a couple of years ago and it kept dragging and dragged a little longer and dragged a little longer. And then finally the story is TJ Watt walks in there shirtless, says, I'm signing this, we're finishing it, and I'm going to go work out. So maybe that's how this all ends up working out. I kind of doubt that's how it works out because nobody actually has very good proof of that is exactly how it ended up happening. It usually is probably how a negotiation ends. Somebody ends up caving a little bit.
Somebody caves a little bit. And in that case, it was TJ Watt. And in that case, again, just a couple peanuts at the top of the jar that he didn't have put in there. And Jordan Love might do the same thing. Okay, I'm tired of this. That's enough money. Let's do this. Let's get this thing on. Who blinks first? Is it Jordan Love's agent? Is it Brian Gutekunst? Is it Russ Ball? Does Jordan put an end to this whole thing and say, I'll take less money? We talk about how great of a guy he is, how amazing he is, how he feels like one of our brothers, one of our sons here in Green Bay. And we just want him to cave. We just want him to put an end to this and cave and not get what he is fully deserved of. I mean, that seems harsh by fans.
Mm-hmm. But it does seemingly go a lot of the way of how fans a lot of times do. Neil from Superior, has Jordan Love earned the right to hold in? Is this a red flag for Goody? Love was good in the second half, but I don't know this shows the best for who he is or might be.
Oh, goodness gracious. This is not Jordan Love's fault. This is not Jordan Love's fault. This is the Green Bay Packers' fault. Let's remember, they drafted Jordan Love to develop him. They needed to develop him. That's the way the Packers. If we cannot sit here, and I'm sorry, but we cannot sit here and say the Packers do it right. They draft a quarterback, they let him sit for 3 years, and then he comes out in his first year and shows us all that the Packers do it right and they can develop a quarterback. We can't praise that and then get mad when we only have a year of looking at him on the field before it's time to have to pay him. They go hand in hand. If you draft and develop, then you got to pay after just a year of service. They go together.
Mm-hmm. That's how they do business. And then this is how business ends at the end of the day. Big time money. Like UPS Nick in Saukville said, tell all the Nooners it's a business. It's a business for Jordan and it's a business for the Packers. Stop taking it personally because none of us know what it's like to potentially earn $250 million to do our jobs. Now, UPS Nick, I have made that statement a couple of times. I apologize to individuals that have, John. I'm not coming close to negotiating 9-figure business deals. If our listeners are, I've said, congratulations to you. You're doing far better in your industry than I am in this spot. It's a lot of things that I don't know that's going to be a part of these deals. I don't act like I do. I do know that there are a lot of people paid a lot of money to be able to figure it out. And I'm putting some faith in the fact that they are figuring it out.
But if I'm just saying, if we're going to give praise, which I do, to the Packers, to Goody, to Ted Thompson when he did it, to Russ Ball for all of this, to Mark Murphy and if we're going to give them the credit for it, we got to acknowledge the one little downside, the one little devil's advocate to this whole thing is, yeah, you got to pay him after 1 year. You have to, because that's the way a contract works. If you sit for 3 and you play for 1, there's 4 years out of your 5-year contract.
It's why they had to pay Rashawn Gary coming off a torn ACL, right? And little production in his first year because they drafted and developed behind, and then it was time. And now it's time again here. And it was time for Kenny Clark to get his third. Not a whole lot of third contracts doled out by the Green Bay Packers, John. How about that? Last player drafted by Ted Thompson on the Green Bay Packers, Kenny Clark, 28 years old, getting that third contract this weekend. That was good news.
Third contract at 28. Think about them apples.
Craziness. Just craziness. Matt Schneidman, you're on a list. You're on the list. We're going to tell you exactly why Matt Schneidman's on the list coming up here next, because this son of a gun needs to lock it up. Fill you in. It's Coon and Billy. It's 9 to noon. We got a chance for you to win State Fair tickets, 4-pack and a bargain book in an hour from right now. More on this reaction before we get into, another glorious topic. Maybe the Brewers MVP done for the year. Awesome situation. Son of a gun. How does this change just inside of a week away from the trade deadline? As Brewers get an off day, they return home tomorrow night. We were supposed to yacht rock tomorrow night. Man, we were supposed to have 2 tickets to Paradise tomorrow night.
MVP is Colin Rayhurt.
You stop that.
Come on,
you stop that right now,
I
Jeff.
love Pipe Bomb.
Goodness gracious.
Pipe Bomb.
That's the Pipe Bomb. Jeff Orlowski. He's John Good. I'm Billy Schmidt. It's 9 to noon on the Game. Welcome back. It's 9 to noon on the game. 414-799-1973 is the NicoletLaw.com talking text line to get in on the action. Billy Schmid, John Kuhn, back with you on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line. A lot of good stuff as we have Jeff Orlowski in the building here today, which is makes our lives infinitely better. It just always does. And in for our guy, Armin Sarian, who will, as I have been potentially told, was in the building yesterday. He was scouting some stuff out here in the building yesterday. I just can't stay away.
Just
can't stay away.
I have not talked to Armin personally, but several people from our team has talked to him. He is beaming from ear to ear, the happiest father in the world, so ready to come back to work because, of course, he's Armin, and he's got to take his time off to and be with his family. And Armin, if you're out there listening, which I know you are,
he absolutely is.
Stay home.
Yeah, we'd love you to stay home. I was laughing though when I had heard that he was coming in yesterday. I'm like, okay, so at what point did Laura say you need to get out of here?
That's the thing.
You need to leave for
2
a couple
weeks
minutes.
ago.
She probably did.
Yes, 100%.
She probably did. She probably said, "Get out of here. I can't watch these YouTube videos anymore." And you cannot pace when you're holding the baby so much. You got to just calm it down. Just sit in a chair.
He's sitting there watching the 93 finals 17 times over. Like, okay, honey, now this is it. I did get a Snapchat, John. I know you're shocked by that. Him holding young child.
Not Laura, him.
No, him holding the baby.
Good. He's actually sending you snaps of himself and not his wife anymore. Now it's not creepy.
Not as creepy. But he was showing the youngster the Super Bowl 31. He said, and right here we go up 2 scores in the third quarter.
Oh my God.
That's the moment that Daddy really realized what happiness was. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Start out with the absolute great
Teach him
pinnacles
at a
of
young
joy.
age. So many Packer fans I meet are like, yeah, my dad was a Packer. They live in other states. I see them all over the place. They come up. I lived in another state, but my parents were Packer fans, and I knew nothing but Packer football. That's all I ever watched growing up. And I'm like, yeah, that's the way you do it.
That's the way you do it. That's the way it's supposed to be. 414-799-1973. A lot of Packer fans with their reaction as we continue our conversation. Jordan Love still not at practice. Diana Rossini earlier this morning said that the two sides are both continuing to get optimistic, making progress. Still not done, though. At what point is it too late for it to be done? When do you need it to be done? 414-799-1973. But we'll continue to run through these because there's a lot of good stuff. A lot of fun here. Like Corey in the 262 did say that our friend Leroy Butler said on the NFL Network, Tom Brady was never the highest paid quarterback, but became the richest. I hope Love's mentality towards his career is influenced in that aspect. John, there's always one thing that I hate when people bring up Tom Brady and taking less money in that situation. He then got $375 million from Fox as like a thank you to the NFL. Great deal by that. He also was married to one of the richest women in the world. So like taking a couple of dollars less wasn't as big of a deal to Tom Brady. And they just weren't doing it. He had to because the New England Patriots, for some reason, just had a beautiful curse on that whole situation, it appeared.
He was a 7th round draft pick that if you watch the beginning portions of his career was, I mean, he was good. He made clutch plays, but he was not thrown for 500 yards. It was a much different situation early on. And those things don't ever really leave.
So what you're just explaining to me is that Brock Purdy is going to be Tom Brady in that aspect, right? 7th round pick. Never felt like the absolute greatest. He's going to take just a little bit less and everyone's going to idolize him that way.
I'm fascinated to see how that plays itself out because that's going to be another one here probably next offseason.
And John, if he was not picked with the last pick in the draft, they'd have to make that decision today.
Oh, yeah.
They would have to make that decision today instead of a year from right now. Amazing how that one phone call and one pick changes so much. And how quickly you end up getting that cash. 414-799-1973. All right, we will take a quick timeout from the football conversation. We'll get back to it because we got to bring you something from Big Ten Media Days yesterday that is chef's kiss. Hey, Deshaun Foster, we've all been there. Maybe. 414-799-1973. And coming up next, does the Christian Yelich news change how the Brewers attack the trade deadline. 414-799-1973. We'll give you the absolute latest we have on the 22 back injury here on 9 to noon in hour 2 when Coon, Billy, and Pipe Bomb return on the game. Hour 2, 9 to noon, brought to you by Happy Place Hemp and happyplacehemp.com. Everybody relax. Happy Place Hemp is there to ease some of the stresses of the daily life. Also, bring a little bit more happiness to you, especially if you're using the Delta 8, Delta 9 gummies, the recreational ones. Woo, a lot more happiness that you're going to be able to find thanks to Happy Place Hemp and happyplacehemp.com. Locally, legally produced hemp products right in the state of Wisconsin in your own back door in Muskego. You can go and say hi to them right across from Maddie's. Great spot. Off of College Avenue, and you can go in and talk to Rob and Chris. They can answer any questions. Say you've been listening and hearing me talk about their pet products, but you don't exactly know what is the right thing for your pooch or your kitten, or I don't know what else you got. I don't know if it's a Travis Jervey situation. You got a little alligator sitting there. I don't know exactly that situation. Go and ask them for all their information.
Liger.
They'll tell you the stories. That would be awesome. Could you imagine? I had one youngster yesterday at football practice, John, asked me if I've ever seen a tiger yawn. I'm like, well, not personal, not up close
You
in person.
get the best conversations.
It's so
with these
much
kids,
fun,
man.
dude.
You do. And listen, and it's every age, because I had some wild conversations in U8 soccer. Some wild conversations with the girls on the sidelines, just crazy stuff. Where'd you get that slice of? In the middle of the game, I turn around and there's a girl eating a slice of pizza. I said, where'd you get that slice of pizza from? In my book, in my bag, in my soccer bag. You carried that pizza, that slice of pizza in your bag? Yeah.
I got another one.
Did you wrap it in tinfoil? No. Did you wrap it in, paper towels? No.
Put it in a bag?
No. I just put it right on top of my spare t-shirt and shorts. Okay.
Love kids.
There
man.
we
They're
go.
awesome.
They're the best.
They're the absolute best, dude. And like nothing seemingly is off limits. The jokes that they make at each other are so good. And then now, once you end up feeling like you're somewhat a part of it, then they start firing some jokes at you. Oh, great work. Big fan of it. Big fan.
What are they? What are they saying about you?
Yesterday, I forgot. But had him in 4-wheel drive, right? Tried to make sure that I at least throw it in sport mode.
So you were bear crawling
all over the place. And you should have seen, John, it was like a fish out of water when all of a sudden I slid on that turf one time. One time the croc fell off and we were racing back to be able to stay there. Practicing 3rd and 3, big situation. You can't just be having a croc right there in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good times, but mostly they attack the fact that coach is generally sweatier than any of the players. And that happens pretty quickly once you're out in the 85-degree heat there on that turf.
You'll grow up too. You live in Wisconsin. You'll look like me someday. Tell all the linemen that. Tell all the linemen that. That's what I would. This is what you're going to look like one day, boy.
Hopefully that's not exactly why we're having this little rush of a couple of kids quitting. We're going to change this up. This up. We can't have guys quitting.
What is going on? Are you guys running 2-a-days or something?
No.
Listen, they're watching the Packers.
No, I promise. No,
one
I promise.
practice a day, 3 days in a row, and then have a day off. They need those standards. You better not practice them harder than the Packers practice.
The fun one is, John, because we also do have some fathers that have played at Arrowhead High School and they also are coaching now. So they'll come back and be like, oh, practice is over already.
Just like Varsity Blues. They're standing on the top of the hill. These boys.
Oh, practice is over already.
Best time of their life.
Oh, no, even better. This is so easy. I could have been doing this. It reminds me of how I would assume James Lofton and everybody walks back into Packers practice now and says, I could have played 4 more years if I was running training camps like this. Now there's an off day after 3 days in helmets?
You're wrong. James Lofton and them said that about us.
Oh, that's fair.
Now we say that about Jordan Love and the guys today. Yes, we do. And I'm proud to say it because that's a part of the time goes by, life goes on in the NFL. Yes, these training camps are the easiest things I've ever seen. And to some extent, that's what makes this Jordan Love situation almost irrelevant right now. Because that first month of the season is when you do the most growth. The entire season, the most growth comes in that first month of the regular season.
And the amount of time that you guys would be on task by this point in training camp, well, you guys would have already had what? 5 practices in already. I know sure as hell you weren't having an off day.
I could not believe
days.
So post 2011 CBA, no more 2-a-days. You're not allowed to do 2-a-days anymore. We did 2-a-days in 2010. No more 2-a-days in 2011. post 2011 CBA, no more two-a-days. Ooh, this is going to be easy. But we at least still went 3 practices of underwear, full pads. You got to get that one full pad in before you break.
Before you take a day,
Break
right?
the ice on the full pads. They don't even do that anymore. It's wild, but it's a different game, Billy. It's a much different game. If you think about the 80s where it
my God.
where it was belly, power, quick slant, belly, power, quick slant, dive, lead draw, ISO, slant, post. Here we go. One deep shot. That's the way the game was played. You needed to harden your body. You needed to create a team full of guys who were used to hitting and smacking nonstop. Now the game is, I hate to say it, but it's more basketball on turf.
On the edge.
We're getting everything on the edges. There are teams that still run the ball. Hardly anybody. Look at how many teams ran it more than 50% last year. 50%. Half the time. Look, I don't know if anybody did.
Yeah,
Maybe the
not even
49ers. Maybe. But I don't know if anybody did. Packers are somewhere around, I believe, 41, 42%. And because it is played so much on the edge, and a lot of those, and some of those handoffs are jet sweeps to wide receivers. So it's played on the edge, it's played in space, and a lot of it has less to do with the pounding and the hitting. And now, you don't need to harden your body there. Now you need to harden your body with running, because now the big thing is soft tissue injuries because you are running so much more. Now, the injury rate hasn't really gone down. It's just changed. It's gone from AC joints and broken hands and stingers to now hamstrings, calves, things to that.
Well, and I imagine Forrest Gregg seeing all the jet and orbit motion. Why are these guys running around so much? And that's why you can't run 3-a-days.
Those guys would be, but they'd be dizzy. Their defenses would be dizzy trying to figure out
Where are these guys
we
going?
can't line up in a 46 Bear defense and play guys because you're just throwing to wide receivers. What's going on here? They would be so busy by all the motions. That would go out there and the defense would call a timeout because they wouldn't know what's going on.
Excuse me. What is this formation y'all are running? We're not familiar with this game. Could you guys check this for us here real quick? So I'm trying to get the answer here for you on the run pass split, going through a couple of different sites to be able to get the percentages. 3 teams ran the ball more than they threw it last year.
Can I guess? Let me see if I can guess.
I think you're going to get at for sure one of them.
The 49ers?
The 49ers, according to Fantasy Football Today, are not one of the teams.
Okay.
Oh, pardon me, are one of the teams. I apologize. Yes, 50.4% of the time.
Okay,
yes.
I thought 49ers for sure. Now I'm going to say Atlanta Falcons.
The Atlanta Falcons are not at 49.6. That was the team that I messed up with for you.
Oh, 49.6.
49.6. I mean,
Okay.
most people would round that up and give you that percentage, not Fantasy Football.
Okay, now I'm going to go. Do I go Tennessee Titans or do I go? I'm going Tennessee Titans.
Neither are correct, sir.
Oh my God.
Tennessee Titans 47.3% of the time. The New England Patriots. Now, maybe they should have ran the ball a little bit more. Yeah, maybe New England should have ran the ball a little bit more. 42.7% of the time. Maybe if they weren't throwing it 57% of the time, they would have won more than 3 games last year.
Yes. Giants.
Giants did not. 46.7. One of these
Okay,
teams.
give me
One of
these
these
two
teams, you're going to be
teams.
mad
Just-
that you didn't get.
Just give me these 2 teams. Just give them.
Baltimore Ravens,
Oh
52.3%.
God, that's terrible.
I knew you were going to be mad that you didn't.
That is so disappointing. I am okay. That's what you call the first day comeback case of the Mondays on a
Yep.
Thursday. That's what I just got right there. That was terrible.
The other one, Chicago Bears, 51% of the time.
Yeah, I probably
ran the
should.
football.
I thought about Chicago. Most of those runs are because of the quarterback last year. So
Yeah. Both of those 2 teams, right? A lot of their runs end up
Yes.
becoming of the quarterback. 414-799-1973. All right, John. So yesterday, take a quick time out for the football conversation here for a real quick one. We get the news yesterday. Bad news from the Milwaukee Brewers. Bad news. After leaving in the 6th inning on Monday night, Christian Yelich going to go see a spine specialist today. Pardon me, the injury happened on Tuesday night. Going to see a spine specialist today. He speaks to the media yesterday in a very, very somber tone, very serious. Says all options are on the table. Again, read between the lines. You don't hear a whole lot of professional athletes say every option is on the table if they don't know that the worst option is on the table, which probably means season-ending surgery. Ken Rosenthal kind of confirmed that later on. Pat Murphy mentioned it in his press conference. Said, I mean, I don't know who you guys want us to go get, Vlad Jr. There's not many guys around the league that do what Christian Yelich does, how important he is to our team. That's a blow that, I mean, in 2010, you guys had a serious amount of injuries left and right. To have the number one guy and your leader and the guy that's the only one having a 900 plus OPS, the only one to win an MVP, the only one to right now be leading the NL in batting, that's a brutal hit with 60 games to go for a young team to lose their leader like that.
I think and the timing of it, post All-Star break, trade deadline coming up. What do we need to add? We need to add an arm. You win yourself 2 series. You're feeling really great about yourself.
Yeah, 4-1 road trip.
And then the news breaks out. Like, the timing of it could not be any worse. When you feel like, okay, we got the ship sailing. The sails are up. The wind's blowing behind us, and we are cruising now. Oh, snap. Something happened with one of the sails, and now we need to patch this thing up. I am interested, very interested, how the Brewers approach this now, because the momentum that they've had this season has been so special. You don't deflate that. You got to find a way to inflate it back up. You got to take it back to a good place. So it might not be an arm now that comes. It might be a bat. I think you have to get a bat for the lineup, another bat here. And the Brewers, I hate to say it, but this is a time to maybe not all into the regards of going out and getting some star.
Yeah.
But you got to go in a little bit, right? You have to go in somewhat.
Damn. And that's exactly how I'm starting to lean on the complete opposite side. Because what you had just talked about, John, there was not a bad vibe really running through this team outside of,
so good.
Hey man, starting pitching, I don't know how they're doing it with 16 different guys, right? I don't know how they're getting all these different guys to give them innings. I don't know how Colin Ray is one of the winningest pitchers in baseball, but he is right now.
And didn't you just get the feeling it didn't matter who they put out there to
figure
pitch,
it out?
Because the pitching coaches here they just grind them and they work them and they get this thing rolling, and their advanced scouting is so good that they can make it work with these guys. So okay, maybe we add an arm, and it just felt so good. You're starting to get the old confidence when you're waiting for that shoe to drop and it just doesn't drop, and you're okay. Now I'm going from, hey, this is eventually going to end. We're going to have a revert back to the mean, to, okay, maybe there isn't a mean. Maybe this is our mean with these pitchers doing what they're doing here. Guys constantly on IL and then back up and moving guys around. And you're like, well, damn, it's just going to work because that's what we do here. And now you say, right when you're feeling good about the pitching, you say, okay, well, shoot, now do we need a bat? I think we do, Billy.
715, Yelly out, not a problem. Churio stays in left, Perkins in center, Frelick and Mitchell platoon at right. 715, I love your optimism. You cannot tell me the best producing bat in your lineup out is not a problem. Like that's a problem. It is a massive problem, especially when, John, to the way that we've watched this team all year long through 100+ games now is more exciting than last year because it's more offensively driven than last year, right? Like, so that's where I'm with, if they are going to keep their chips towards the middle, try to push them in, then you got to go and add in the outfield. Or you got to add some kind of power. You got to add some kind of
Even
bat.
if you don't
now that Garrett Mitchell's back, I don't know that necessarily is in the outfield, but you got to add some kind of pop. You got to add some kind of bat. It
might not be in the outfield, right? And I agree with you there. But you do need to add some pop. You do need to add a bat if you want to keep the optimism, not just of winning the Central, but actually, hey, stirring things up and making some noise in the playoffs. I hear everybody say, oh, the only thing that matters in baseball is you get in. Well, you can't get in without, a strong team.
Right.
You need to be humming when you get in, and losing your best bat, as you said, Billy, losing, your hottest bat. And the problem is when Christian was healthy this year, he was hot. He was just grooving it again after at the start of the season as well. So I think you do. I think you need that one guy that you can get in here and you can say, okay, well, he's going to get us, a big hit at some point in time. He's going to be a momentum changer within a game. And I don't know who that bat could be. I don't know where it fits in the field. I don't know where it fits in the field, but I feel like you need a bat.
Well, and that's a tough thing. Like Randy Arozarena is a guy whose name now starts popping up that he's available. Pipe Bomb laughs. The Randy Arozarena is an October player. I don't know exactly what his numbers are through the regular season, but he has had big time moments in the postseason. Pipe Bomb, listening to you guys on the post game show the last couple of days, and then talking with Tim Allen when he was filling in for Mike Keller yesterday. I was expecting John. So yesterday, the story comes out. Brewers might try to thread the needle. Right, we're try to buy a little bit, try to sell a little bit, try to buy a little bit, try to sell a little bit, be right even keel. This to me, if they were thinking about selling some pieces, is going to push them into being interested, like Jason and Lake Geneva said, with Yelich going down probably for the rest of the year. I think they probably trade Adames and cash in for what they can get for him. They already are playing with house money this year, so they will continue to do what they have, do with what they can with what they have, and see how far they go. Now they do that.
Not 16 games above 500, not with the 6-game lead in the Central. That would go right back to what happened the other year when we traded Josh Hader. It would go back to that same feel. It would, okay, not only do you lose your, most electric bat, but now you lose, one of the guys, one of the leaders, one of the vet guys that shows the way. You can't do that now with bites at the apple for another year. You just cannot do it time after time after time again. And I fully understand everything that transpired from the Hader deal. We got Contreras out of it and everything else, as you do the 6 degrees of separation. But when are we going to play for the now? When are we going to play for the current year? And it might not be good enough to get there, but you got to try. You have to try.
Yeah. And I think they want to. I don't know that they're going to. Pipe Bomb, you just keep shaking your head over here. It's like you don't think they're going to at all.
Well, okay. Well, first of all, I'm shaking my head because Kuhn just called Willy Adames the most exciting bat in the lineup. The guy's
16 bombs. Come on.
I was talking about Yelly.
I
was talking about Yelly.
Oh, okay.
I was talking about Yelly, and then my comment on Adames is he's one of the leaders. He's one of the older leaders.
Kind of heart and soul of the team.
Yes, 100%.
Rip it out.
Not only do you take out the bat,
sicko.
Not only do you take out the bat with Yelly's injury, then you take the personality, the feel, the vibe, one of the heartbeats. No, you can't do that too.
I'll take the prospects. I'll take the major league ready players, and then I'll spend $20 an hour on a cheerleader, and we'll call it even. I think
so.
Now,
you're playing for 2026 and 2027.
No, you can get rid of Willie, get a nice haul for him, and still compete this year. Absolutely.
Really? You think so?
Absolutely. With the guys that they've got, you slide Ortiz over to short. You can,
because either him or Terang's probably going to be the future shortstop. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you're up the middle is Terang and Ortiz. You could live with Monasterio or whoever you get in return for Adames at third.
Can you?
I got no problem, man. I'd ship him 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
The only thing I'd say to
I
you
hate
there,
that we're doing this.
The only thing I'd say to you there, Pipe Bomb, is you don't know how young guys are going to respond. And this team is incredibly young. You don't know how young guys are going to respond. So they could potentially respond better than anticipated with that situation. Next man up, exciting time, exciting atmosphere. Plus, you got Murph instead of Counsell, and I believe that Murph will bring a different vibe to this thing. So maybe, or young guys go, oh, woof, now we don't have Yelly or
Willie.
And it could go either way. It's a risky chance there, Pipe Bomb. That is a risk. I think that's a far greater risk than just bringing in a bat and say, hey, we're going to see what we can do this year with Murph leading the gang. We already exceeded expectations through the first half of the season. Let's see if we can keep this run going.
I'm also giving myself just a little bit. I'm trying to get myself back to the optimism side. I was ready, John, yesterday when we crossed over to start talking to Tim Allen about, hey, man, when do you start talking to Woody about seeing like, hey, man, are you going to be able to maybe throw a couple of innings? Would you be able to maybe at least make it sound like you could have a couple of innings, right? Get a little bit more pizzazz, a little more fire, a little more excitement in here, and then Yelich maybe down for the year. I was here to basement floor quickly. I'm trying to build myself back up. I'm trying to get back up here, and Bob Nightingale helped us with this one. Brewers, with their all Cy Young winner, Corbin Burns, out of here. Their manager, Craig Counsell, out of here. Their top 2 veteran starters, Brandon Woodruff, Wade Miley, done for the year. Their all-star closer, Devin Williams, still out. Their all-star outfielder, Christian Yelich, now out indefinitely. Keep it rolling. 3-2 win over the Cubs. They have a 6-game lead in the Central, 11 games over their bitter rival Chicago Cubs. Take a bow, Pat Murphy, who should be the unanimous NL manager of the year. That was kind of similar to how Brian Snitker ended up running with the Atlanta Braves in 2021 through the Milwaukee Brewers to their World Series after they lost Ronald Acuna to a torn ACL. So I brought myself one feeling that you can still win it if one of your best players is down.
Yes, you can, but I think you have to also make a move.
And they did
to win. I think you need to make a move in order to do that. And yes, whether the Brewers make a move or not, if they can steady this road with Yelly out of the lineup now, and they continue to impress and they continue to win series, and they finish this season at 16, 17, 18 games above 500. I mean, yeah, Pat Murphy better be the unanimous manager of the year.
And there were a couple of key additions that Braves team made. When you think of Eddie Rosario was brought in at the deadline. Jock Peterson was on that team that they ended up having a bunch of big time hits for, and a couple of big time home runs that they ended up getting out of Peterson there in 2021, because he was a massive piece to them winning it after they traded for him a couple of weeks before the deadline. And also Jorge Soler, who ended up being World Series MVP. They got all 3 of those bats 2 weeks before the deadline. And Ronald Acuna is a former MVP. So it could happen. Could happen. Let's keep some vibes going. Keep some positive vibes going, because the vibes were way too high. This one took a lot of air out of the balloon.
This team's going to be fine.
That's the most optimistic, positive thing you've said here all day, Pipe Bomb. That's what I'm talking about. Okay.
Well, Pipe Bomb is known for his optimism.
They call me Pipe Love. You know what I mean? Always the optimistic one around here.
Oh, man, I almost made a really, really inappropriate joke. I hit the pause button on myself. Guys, that is maturity. I am real proud of myself here. Coming up tomorrow, we are going to be live from Ray Nitschke Field for day number 4 of Packers practice, which we are extremely excited to be back up on the perch for. John, some shoulder pads tomorrow, right? I mean, not full pads, not probably knee pads and everything, and hip pads and thigh pads. You know, we don't want to go full 2009 on this one, right?
No. Let's ease them into it.
Ease into here.
Ease them into this thing.
414-799-1973. We'll ease back into the talking text line, because there's a lot of frustration still on the Jordan Love conversation, a lot that we still want to be able to get to, like our guy Scott in Duluth. Hey guys, I'm a longtime nooner in Duluth, Minnesota. I'm going to be at camp next week. Would love to meet you. Will you be broadcasting from Nitschke Field next week? Go Pack, go.
Yes.
You better believe it, Scott in Duluth. You'll see us right there, smack dab in the center of Ray Nitschke Field.
Even better than that, Scott, if you come in early, we'll be broadcasting from the Packers Pro Shop on their off day on Monday.
How about that one? How about them apples? It's like that just pops up. 414-799-1973. That's John Kuhn. I'm Billy Schmidt. Jeff Orlowski, the eternal optimist. Jeff Orlowski, Pipe Bomb in with us as well. It's 9 to noon on the game.
John Kuhn here for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, and I know everybody on here loves a good Wisconsin dad joke. Heck, we got a bunch of young dads. Me, Billy, Armin, even Pipe Bomb is a young father. And how about this joke? What do you call a cow that grows facial hair? You call it a moustache. Ha ha, that's a good one. Okay, now time for a window dad joke. What do you need in order to cook in a sunny kitchen? It's called Shade and Bake, and I cannot help myself. They write themselves, because my mind is on windows and doors thanks to this incredible deal going on at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. This is a phenomenal deal. Pay as low as $18 per window and $81 per patio door per month, but you got to hurry. The best part, Pella completes installation with no mess and no hassle, and they leave nothing behind but their fantastic results. Again, the deal is $18 per window, $81 per patio door per month at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. But you only have until the end of this month, July 31st, that is, to get this deal. So head into Pella and check them out. And don't forget to tell Gina Della that John Kuhn sent you. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Visit PellaWI.com today.
is.
Outstanding. Mike Tyson with Jim Gray. Thanks, Pipe Bomb. That's fantastic work back in 9 to noon here on the game. Broke my back, spinal. It's something. He's going to see a spinal specialist today. Not good news. Hopefully we get better news from Christian Yelich today. Did not sound good yesterday. Is when any player, athlete says with 60 games to go, 2 months left in the season, all options are on the table. And said player has already missed 3+ weeks with a back injury this year, missed time in each of the last 3 seasons with a back injury. Dicey spot, dicey situation to be in. We already know Yelich said it to a bunch of different media members yesterday that he is just kind of tired of dealing with it. Well, the bad thing is, John, and I hate to say it this way, I don't know a whole lot of athletes that used to have a bad back.
You've said that multiple times, Billy, and it just continues to rear its ugly head. And sometimes there are procedures that you can go through that make you feel as good as new.
Mm-hmm.
You might not ever be as good as new, but you at least feel as good as new for a while. Sometimes you need to load manage after you get that procedure, but rarely, and this is the key, rarely do you have a bad back, not get the procedure, work through the physical therapy, and not have it come back. That is where the key is.
Yeah, because I mean, hey, I'm again trying to be optimistic here. I'm thinking of Brooke Lopez. He had that back procedure, and then all of a sudden we're looking like, oh my God, he's being able to get back and cover the pain a little bit. He's protecting the rim again in this drop defense. Like that was a little bit of a rebirth for Brooke after the back injury, and then that rebirth ended up getting him 4 years, or 2 years, $48 million or something. So maybe this is what is necessary. But now what's necessary for the Milwaukee Brewers? If Christian Yelich is down for the remainder of the season, which seemingly is on the table at this juncture, yesterday Ken Rosenthal said it appears that is what is about to happen. Many people reacting to Jeff Orlowski saying, listen, ship Adames off at this point too. If he's out, figure out how to be able to get some more assets back in here, recoup. You'll be plenty fine with Andrew Monasterio over at third base. That's where we see TJ in Texas. I agree with Pipe Bomb. I would ship Hoskins out too. He's replaceable. But then Andy in the 262 says, live with Monasterio at third base? Jeff, are you smoking something other than cigarettes this morning? There's a lot of differing reactions, but this one seems to be the sentiment many people go to, and kind of the one that John Kuhn and I are feeling like on the NicolaLaw.com talking text line. Dan and Delafield said they can't trade Adames at this point. They won't get enough for him in return at this point. Anyone trading for him is a contender and won't be giving you much in return. You ride that wave with him as long as you can and deal with it later. They need an arm or two, and for a bat, I'd love to see them bring Tyler Black up, let the kid play. They're getting nothing from Hoskins or Bowers at first base. Package some young kids in the minors. Go get an arm. Dan and Delafield. Now, I know you are not the captain of the Reese Hoskins fan club.
No.
Jeff Orlowski.
Royce Hopkins.
Yeah, as he's known as on the baseball postgame show that you can hear on the iHeartRadio app here in 97.3 The Game. But we both said that I don't think you can trade Willy Adames from the feeling of the clubhouse, the morale of the team 60 games ago, and meanwhile the production in the lineup that you'd be losing there. You say contrary to it.
Oh, yeah, I think you can. And with the way that the economics are in baseball, we all know the Brewers are the smallest market. They count on ticket sales to help fund this team and all that because their media deal is so terrible. You cannot lose a starting shortstop and get absolutely nothing in return. They need to get rid of Willie and get something back for him. He was too big of a piece for too long to sit there and let him walk because you can't afford to sign him. And they shouldn't re-sign him for the amount of money that he's going to command. You got to get something back.
This is what I don't understand about baseball, and I never will.
Mm-hmm.
I never understand the money it costs to re-sign a player is never. It's never worth it. I don't understand. If one team's willing to pay it, that's the market. Why can't the Brewers pay it? Why can't they do it? I never understand how that works. So then there is the trade to a team that's going to run him through a playoff run, and then he'll be a free agent. And then somebody else not named the team that just traded assets away from him is then going to pay him. So he's not worth it to re-sign for the Brewers, but he's worth it to trade to another team that's not just going to trade assets away from him, but then they will get nothing for him in return. I never understand how that works.
Well, and it's just one of the oddities of the game where you're just trying to, you always feel like you're paying for past performance. And I know that's where, as a small market team, you can't fall yourself into the trap of just paying for what somebody has done instead of ultimately what you're going to get out of them coming up in the future. But they're right now at a spot, John, where like they've tried to maneuver it. You're going to get some kind of first or a second round draft pick for it. Hey, Brewers seemingly are doing well in the draft. That might ultimately have to be good enough for what you're getting, because I tend to agree with Orlovsky's thought. Like, that was my thought with Corbin Burnes. You can't allow yourself as a small market team to lose him for nothing in free agency or just one draft pick in free agency. But this one, you have a chance to win.
That's my point, Billy. We're
Right
not
here.
16 games under 500. We're
Yes.
16 games over 500. And again, I say it like this. So we can't pay Willie. Now, I understand it. Paying for past performance. I understand that he will get paid on a free agent market. But we expect the team to give us something so that they can make a postseason run with Willie. So they're not just going to not pay him at the end of the year. They're also going to pay additional assets for him now. So some other team's going to pay more for him than what we are. We have him. He's here now. The team is 16 games above 500. I don't see the point. It's almost like you're in a spot where you need something and you bring Willie Adames in. That's what another team's doing. That's what.
That's actually absolutely it.
That's what we're hoping another team is going to do to take him off our hands. And yet you don't have to give up the assets for him. He's here and he's Willie, and there's good vibes with him.
Yeah, I mean, he's in line. He just set the record for most consecutive starts at shortstop for the franchise. Like, there's so much in the clubhouse. You thought Josh Hader was an impactful move. This one is tenfold, at least, to what is inside that room. The other part of it is, and Jeff, you know this, and I think all our Brewer fans know this, the organization faced a load of backlash from the fans for that Hader deal. I still think there's some scars in that front office and in the ownership room that they don't want to do it again this quickly and risk that kind of public outcry.
Billy,
also, especially with taxpayer funds going to the stadium here pretty soon.
What do you remember how many games we had in the lead there?
They were 3 or 4.5 up.
I thought it was 5. Okay?
Might have been, yeah, might have been 5.
I thought it was 5 games up in the division when they made that deal. They're 6 games up right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're 6 games up. I mean, it smells, it feels, it has the exact same dynamic, and yet this team is a completely different team. So you don't know how they're going to respond. Young guys could respond with complete naivety and just be, plain to the situation and say, this is my opportunity to step up as a young guy and make my name. They could be, after the pain and, man, this is the reality of the business settles in, they could get hot and they could get on a run. And sometimes you need that space. I tell people all the time, Jordy Nelson at the end, everybody, well, why didn't the Packers keep Jordy for one more year? Well, Jordy Nelson had to be traded so that Devontae Adams could flourish. That was the truth of the matter. So we don't know these. The Brewers know these things a lot better than we do. So we will wait and see how this thing pans out. But I don't know if this year is the time to make a move as far as selling. I think you need to bring in a bat.
414-799-1973. Do you think it'll change the way that the Brewers operate coming up here to the trade deadline? You can't trade for draft picks in baseball, Billy. Jake and Waukesha. Yeah, Jake, you actually can. The Brewers acquired a draft pick in the Corbin Burnes trade. You now actually can. You get a compensatory pick if one of your free agent players leaves without trading and you've had him for a year plus. Like the team that then acquires Adames, if indeed that would be the deal here this year, they would not get the compensatory pick for him. You have to have them, I believe it's for a full calendar year. But Jake, that actually is a new deal. You can trade draft picks now in baseball. Historically, never were able to. 414-799-1973. It's 9 to noon. It's John Kuhn. It's Billy Schmidt. It's Jeff Orlovsky. It's all of you on the NicolaLaw.com talking text line, as well as streaming on YouTube and X, hanging out. X still working through. We're still working through the X streaming because, John, did you see this? Apparently Elon Musk might change it back to Twitter. He was letting people
He
answer him in the
should.
comments. Should I
That
change it
guy-
back to Twitter?
That's a wild cat, man. He's a wild
That's a
cat.
way of putting
He's
it. yes.
almost as wild as Matt in Milwaukee, who I can only read the first line here that says, Kuhn, in the NFL, you have this thing called a salary cap. I understand other teams have more money, so they can just blow it in baseball. They can say, hey, I'm richer than you, so I'm going to blow money on these guys. I fully understand that. But how's it been working for the Brewers playing the small market card? This feels like a year where you could get hot and beat some teams in the playoffs. Do you not want to take advantage of that now just one time? Do you not want to do it just one time? Or do we have to just play the small market card over and 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 over again?
Would have been more in line to do what you just mentioned if you didn't just lose Christian Yelich, right? Like if you still had your number one guy, then I could somehow say you have another window opening up here. You can try to drive through and push some chips forward. Try to go for it a little bit more than you have in years past because you still have a guy who's going to win a batting title potentially, 3-hole hitter in your lineup, and that one just dissipated. So they need to figure out exactly how they're going to attack this thing in the next couple of days, and or if they do feel like the vibes are good enough to push forward, because I think there were a lot of people in 21 that didn't feel like they were good enough to win the World Series. I don't know that many people have said that they're not good enough to win the World Series this year. At least prior to the injury, there were a lot of people that did feel like they could. I don't remember that sentiment as much in 2021. 414-799-1973. It's 9 to noon. We're back after this. We got a Coons Can't Miss coming up in the third hour of the program. Also have our friend Justin Arnett, VP of Digital Gaming, coming up in the third hour of the program. Coming up next. If you've ever tried to wing a speech, you did the Deshaun Foster yesterday. We've all been there, boss. It's going to get better, but it's going to get worse before it gets better because we're going to have our fun with the UCLA Media Day head coach right after this on 9 to noon. 9 to noon on the game. Pushed up to the top of the hour, so we'll get to our final hour, our best hour of the day, third hour of 9 to noon in just a couple of minutes. But before we get there, John Kuhn wanted to ask one more question of our guy, Jeff Orlowski, and one more point.
And this is for everybody on the Talking Text line as well. This is for everybody. This is Pipe Bomb. I want to answer this, but this is for everybody because Pipe Bomb is on the hill of trade Willy Adames now. Trade him now. Get whatever assets you can get. Christian Yelich is out. You trade Willie now. I want to ask you, Pipe Bomb, forget the Willy Adames trade for 1 second. If I told you you had to miss the playoffs this year, you had to lose the Central. If I told you that you had to lose the Central in order to have a better team next year, would you take that? Would you take that trade? Would you miss the playoffs and lose the Central to the Cardinals of all people? Would you do that in order to say this team is better next year?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I would.
You would dump this whole season. You would the amazing ride, the amazing run that everybody's on right now. You would just get rid of this whole season, act like it didn't even happen. Because guess what? If they tank and they miss the playoffs, very few people are going to remember this enjoyable ride that we've had for the majority of this summer with Pat Murphy, with this exciting young team, all the things that happened, all the series that we won. People will forget that. People will forget the job that Pat Murphy did this year if that happens. But you would easily throw away this season just to have a better team next season.
Yeah, I would. And the people that would forget that and aren't the people that are living and dying and hanging on every pitch. You know, because the gloriousness about baseball, it's 162. It happens 7 days a week. You know, so you get in it, you're in the groove, you ride in this roller coaster day in, day out, the highs, the lows. I love them both. I love getting pissed off after a close loss, and I love being extremely happy after the win, coming out with the win late yesterday. I love both of it. It's the roller coaster. It's great. But yes, if I knew that the team was going to be better next year, I would miss the playoffs this year.
Billy, that's an incredible take right now because, so many people, especially in the state of Wisconsin, with the teams that have been so close so many times, a few championships here, sporadically, these last 24 years. So many people say, it's about the championships. It's not about the ride. Pipe Bomb is a rarity. Pipe Bomb is about the ride. He's about those bites at the apple, and he's about enjoying these regular seasons.
Well, I also struggle with this part of it because it's going to sound maybe a little hypocritical because I do believe their bites at the apple theory is the best option and the best chance they have to ultimately win a World Series. You have to have as many opportunities to get in the playoffs as possible. But just because you trade Willy Adames for a couple of prospects doesn't mean any of those prospects end up playing Major League Baseball.
That's true.
Or well, for that standpoint. So even if you make that deal here today or by Tuesday's deadline, there's zero guarantee your team is as good as it was this year, next year. There's still zero guarantee that the LA Dodgers maybe don't finally hit that nuclear level like they were believed to be this year. And with some Mookie Betts injuries and a couple of past performance, like you don't know what the situation is going to be for next year. But I struggle to not live in the present at that point.
But let's just remember, we're talking about Willy Adames here. We're not talking about a surefire Hall of Famer. We're talking about a guy who's right now, he's
your best bat. Right? I mean, but Jeff, sure, he's not Mickey Mantle, but if he's your best offensive player with Christian Yelich out or top three, I mean, you can put William Contreras
is still number one.
Yeah. Last 6 weeks?
Well, he's been struggling. But he came through yesterday. So, it's Willy Adames. Yes, I know that everybody loves him because he smiles, he jokes around, and he seems like a happy-go-lucky dude and all that. But he's 0-2 every single at-bat. He strikes out 200 times a year, and he struggles to hit 250. What are we talking about? Ship this guy out.
But he also has 68 RBIs on a season where they've won a boatload of games by one run.
I know. He's played well. But at the end of the day, he's Willy Adames. He's not a Hall of Famer.
414-799-1973. Well, at that point, then they have no chance. There's no reason to not trade everybody because they don't have any Hall of Famers on the team. right? Like, I mean, like at that point, that's
Colin Ray.
that's a difficult spot to be in. Code Red might get there. Code Red might get there. I apologize. I'll put some respect on that name. 414-799-1973. It's 9 to noon, hour 3. Always our best one yet. Right after this on the game. remember when this used to be a big thing. It's 9 to noon on the game. Billy Schmidt, John Kuhn, Jeff Orlowski sitting in for Armin Sarian here today. John, remember when the NFL top 100 players yearly from the NFL Network would be like almost must-see TV? You'd get it nightly for a breakdown. They would last it like 3 or 4 weeks. They would do, 20 players 1 week. They're unveiling it now on NFL Plus in the middle of the day. Like it used to be a massive thing, and now they're just leaking it out randomly.
All 100 or just like 90 to 100?
Apparently right now, players 60 through 51 are being revealed right now on NFL Plus. I didn't even know the first 40 were out.
Man, that's
supposed to be awesome.
See, I used to love that, to just catch up and see so many sounds from the sideline, right? Because NFL Films gets all the greatest stuff. So you get sounds from the sideline, you get sounds from the game, you get guys commenting on other guys around the league on what they think makes them great. It was some of the best access that you got. And, it was somewhat reality television because you had guys commenting on what was going on, but all the action was game action. It was incredible. I loved it.
Yeah, and you got to hear different players talking about other players around the league. You had, Jamar Chase not wanting to say Patrick Mahomes' name, like all great things. And instead, it's just, we're just releasing it now right here in the middle of the afternoon, in the middle of the morning. Dumb. Come on, NFL. I mean, this was a fantastic spot. Your boy Jalen Waddle comes in at 63. I'm scrolling through here right now, just finding all the other ones out. Cooper Kupp comes in at number 69. Nice. 47 a year ago for Cooper Kupp. There are a bunch of these players, John, that went through some injury issues a year ago, and that Rams team is definitely one of them, where people are instantly putting Puka Nacua way above Cooper Kupp. Let's not forget about those breakfast meetings that Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford are having day in and day out of camp, getting themselves ready to go. That is an offense that I'm excited to see out there in the West Coast and the LA Rams this year.
They're one that you could say, hey, without Aaron Donald, might be a different ball game out there. It might be, we need to do the new greatest show on turf. We need to score as many points as possible. And don't forget, they had that surprise running back, Kyron Williams, last year pop up as well. So they have weapons. And Matthew Stafford, if healthy, with the shoulder injury that has been off and on for the last year and a half, if he's healthy, he's got all the weapons in the world to be lights out, fun to watch type ball games out there. And it just might be they need to score 1 billion points to win games.
That aforementioned Kyron Williams comes in at number 78 on this list of the top 100 players in the NFL right now. Sam Laporta, rookie tight end from a year ago for the Detroit Lions, comes in at number 80. Not one Green Bay Packer on the list from 100 to 61.
Yet.
Not one Green Bay Packer on the list yet.
So who's going to get in there then under 61? That eliminates nearly everybody on the offense. Well, maybe Josh Jacobs pops up in there.
Oh, maybe Josh Jacobs. I mean, 800 yards a year ago. I don't know if people are going to be able to put him in there. They should, but I don't know if they will.
Maybe not. Okay. Maybe not one guy from the offense. Do you think Jordan Love's going to be in there under 61?
I am going to say no if I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers 92. Trevor Lawrence 94. Now, granted, 4 plays a year ago is going to change the game there. Kirk Cousins comes in at number 81. Justin Herbert comes in at 75.
The Justin Herbert hype that's a hype train.
That's a lot of hype right there.
That's a lot of hype to fall in at 75. I don't think the Packers get an offensive player in there. Obviously, all the young wide receivers not going to be in there. Tight ends, young, not going to be in there. Elton Jenkins could pop up in there.
Should be in there, yeah.
You know what? Elton Jenkins is the one guy on the offense I think pops up in there under 61. You made a good point on Josh Jacobs last year, not the best statistical year, and Jordan Love probably just, not enough games yet of excitement to be under the Justin Herbert hype train. So then defensive side, Jair, Xavier McKinney might be there, but
I was thinking,
Xavier McKinney might be there as, a giant. And then you got, he's obviously a Packer now. And then maybe Kenny Clark.
Yeah, and Kenny Clark was the one that I thought if we were going to see a Packer that would fall in this realm right here in like that 40 to or that 60 to 100 range, I thought Kenny Clark would find his way in there. But the only lineman on the offensive side, I'm just trying to think for my guy Elton Jenkins, there's only one guard I'm seeing up here so far, and that's Chris Lindstrom.
Okay, I think
at 88.
I think Elton had a better season than him last year, and Elgie's getting a lot of respect around the league because he is that damn good of a player. You need some defensive linemen to go out there and say your name. That's what you need.
That's exactly what you need.
Because nobody watches the offensive line like the defensive line, right?
Yeah.
You need some defensive linemen to go out there and say your name, get yourself on that list. So maybe Elton Jenkins on the offensive side, Jair for sure will be on there. And then, maybe McKinney, maybe Kenny Clark. It's hard because now you're talking about inside the top 50.
Yeah. And it is all voted upon by players. Now, we don't know how many players. We know a few players. And it's also a different ranking system. But you just sit back and I'm sounding like old man yelling at cloud. But NFL Network, come on. No, I have NFL Plus, and I never go on it. Put it on the NFL Network where people actually watch, and then you'll actually get some buzz and some eyeballs and some more conversation about this. It might make a little bit more sense if you're actually trying to do this from the side of making money and getting some more eyeballs onto it. Other eyeballs around the league, because we've only been talking about the contract extension situation for Jordan Love. You keeping an eye, John, as to what's going on with these San Francisco 49ers right now? Not only the Brandon Ayuk holdout situation, we kind of knew that one was coming. Now he's in the building. He is not opening himself up to all the fines that could be levied to him. So he's doing a little more hold in. The holdout is big Trent Williams. After he saw the contracts that have come in for Christian Darrisaw, the left tackle with the Minnesota Vikings, when he saw the massive contract that Penei Sewell got with the Detroit Lions, he said, wait, hold on a second. I'm the best offensive lineman in football. So you guys are going to move this one around, right? And now Trent Williams not showing up. There's a lot of things going on with that San Francisco 49er team. I want all the drama to be there in Santa Clara that they have to deal with here in the preseason. All of it, throw it on that 49er team.
Yeah, that's two of their monsters right there that you talk about with a hold in and a hold out. And what's weird about that? I could have sworn with the last CBA, you were subject to fines under your rookie contract, but those fines could be waived when you re-sign because it's your second contract. Trent Williams obviously doesn't fall in that category, so he would be searching for a third contract. I don't know how many years he has left on his contract. I don't really follow the 49ers in their contract situation, so I wouldn't be able to answer that one.
Oh, I can answer it for you. Trent Williams, 36 years of age, as of just a couple of days ago, still has 3 years remaining on that contract. Currently places him as the third highest paid left tackle in the league by annual average salary. But the last of his guaranteed money was paid out in 2022. So he's set to make 20.1 in base salary in 24, 22.5 million in 25, 32.2 million in 26. He's been a Pro Bowler for 11 straight seasons and a first-team All-Pro for the last 3. So he said, that guy got $28 million in Detroit. I'm going to need to hold some of that before you see me holding guys over there on that left side, just locking them up for Brock Purdy to be able to throw the ball to. It's a lot of money.
Now that's it's the business of the game, but that's a much different situation to me. That's not following the unwritten rules of how you go about your contract negotiations in the NFL. That one to me is much more disrespectful than what's going on with Brandon Ayuk, with what's going on with Jordan Love, especially with the holdout situation versus the hold in. Yeah, that's far different. And hey, all the chaos out there in Santa Clara is accepted by Packer fans.
I like a lot of the reaction that we've gotten here on the Jordan Love conversation. Like Dan in the 715 said, just like Aaron Nagler said, they had all freaking summer to get this deal done. I agree with Nags. Now you have drama. Now you have all these Einstein radio hosts that seem to know everything, really have no idea when or if a deal will get done. Don't think it's all ducks and bunnies at 1265 Lombardi Avenue. Ducks and bunnies, a new one. We're going to have Armin add that one to the puppy dogs and rainbows and ice cream drop that he usually has. But all these Einstein radio hosts, John, sitting here saying that they think the deal's getting done. They don't necessarily know when it's going to get done. What do you say to that group and subsection of fans that just say, Goody, you had all year to figure this thing out?
This is what I say. He did. Okay. But desperation spurs movement, and there's been no desperation over the summer. There was no marking to him. We talked about this in hour one. There was no marking to him that, hey, Jordan Love would not practice without this contract. And I had marked the first preseason game as like, hey, this is the line to let us know if they're anywhere near each other. That's the line. That's probably when it'll get done. And I imagine that was probably the timeline that Goody and people inside the building were anticipating as well. Hey, first preseason game, we'll make him feel good before he takes the field for a couple snaps against the defense. And then to their surprise, they get the call on Saturday night. Jordan will not be practicing until the deal is actually done. You have a feel, you have a vibe, you have a tone of the way this is going. Jordan Love was at every OTA, every IPW, every offseason part that there was. The contract talks, started when they could at the beginning of May. And then they got into the summer. Hey, we'll see you after summer. We're going to get this thing done. And it came as a surprise. And keep this in mind too. Why would Jordan Love sign anything over the summer unless it was a king's ransom? And why would Brian Gutekunst and Russ Ball giving him a king's ransom over the summer when they could have waited? There are 3 quarterbacks right now waiting for contracts, and they're waiting. Trevor Lawrence hit 55.
Sure.
That's all
Changed
of their, it. That's not Dak's bottom line. He better get more than that because he's won more. He's got a much better win percentage than 20 and 30. And he was runner up in the MVP last year. He's probably talking about 60. And then Jordan Love is saying, hey, look at what I did in my first year. Now, I didn't get 3 years before to show you what I could do. I only got last year. And you got to go off of that now. But 55, I feel like I'm better than Trevor Lawrence. And that's the new market price. That's the new standard for your run-of-the-mill franchise quarterback and Trevor Lawrence. Yes, that's what I want or more.
Do you think this plateaus at some particular point? Like, I know there's a lot of people kind of wondering if it did. I think Dan Orlovsky said like he thinks in like 18 months. Well, if 18 months goes by and you see another 4 or 5 guys all at that point become the highest paid quarterback in NFL history or the highest paid player in NFL history at that point, then you're going to have like 15 or 16 dudes.
It's funny. He said 18 months. I've been hearing that there have been some talks about a separate quarterback salary cap that they can go to with some standard form of pay. This will not stop as long as there is a salary cap that continues to go up. It will not stop. And I don't know if it should. If that much money is coming into the NFL and the NFL keeps making $14 billion a year or whatever that's reported that they're making based off of the Packers open books, then 50% of it goes to the players. And out of the percent that goes to the players, the quarterbacks get a cut of that. The only way I think it stops and plateaus is if there's some standardized form of payment for quarterbacks, a separate salary cap.
Yeah, and I think that's the only way that you can somewhat curb it at this moment. And I wonder, man, the Cowboys are in it right now with this Dak Prescott thing. Like, we had another individual earlier on today when we were just kind of looking at it. It feels as if there's a wait for 3 guys, right? Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, and Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's waiting for both of them because he says, I know that I'm worth more than both of those guys. Neither of those dudes were number 2 in MVP balloting last year and have won 3 straight 12-win seasons, right? Like, that's something that he continues to float there. He also has a no tag clause, which is the other part here that changes the game. He can actually walk into free agency next year. Can Dak Prescott? Jordan Love can get tagged 2 more times. Tua can get tagged twice. So like that adds even more leverage onto the Packers side. You just wonder how many more conversations go through. And I'd love to know, and we probably won't, John, maybe until like 2 or 3 years down the road, what are the final couple of sticking points? Because like Chase Daniels on that podcast that they just started with Diana Rossini, saying like, there's no way your first offer comes in with less than $55 million. Why are you wasting time? Have you ever done negotiations, dude? Like, of course you come in less than what you're willing to meet in the middle at. Like, I understand it, but the couple of little sticking points, they're clearly an issue to David Mulugheta, or they're an issue to the Packers. And maybe that's the amount of guaranteed money that goes into years 2, 3, 4, or beyond, because we know that's not something the Packers love doing. They like getting the money up front early and then be able to play
It's-
the cap numbers later.
It's funny you say the initial offer should be 50 because that's not the way it works.
That's not how you go.
That's-
Come on.
This is what's going on. The Packers are saying, we'd like to give you 50, but we'll settle for 55.
Mm-hmm.
And David Mulgala is saying, we'd like to take 60, but we'll settle for 57. The moment the settling numbers meet each other, that's when a contract gets done. That's when a deal gets done. Or when the player steps in and goes, okay, you know what? I don't think it's happening. So I'm just going to do it myself. I'm just going to settle it myself and take less money than what I deserve. But most of these things are analytically designed. You're talking about a couple, crunching points that you're on right now. And those crunching points are simple. Who do you think's better? Do you think Jordan Love's better than, Trevor Lawrence? Do you think Jordan Love's better than Tua Tagovailoa? Because if Jordan Love is better than Tua, you might have to wait until the Tua deal's done.
The Tua thing is just fascinating because John, I really do think the Dolphins are trying to not pay him that money. Like it just appears to me, and again, reading all over all the in-between lines areas here. 18 months ago, this guy had to learn how to fall to be able to play an entire NFL season. Like, to think that that's not a part of why Miami is not jumping at the thought of paying this cat some money, especially because how jacked up he is now.
He's
He
so
lost some
good.
weight too. Tua?
Yeah, he's so good.
Even more than that, though. Hold on. Even more than that, though. In Pipe Bomb, once you, they have an owner down there, and that owner is looking at his money that's being spent. The Packers, they don't have that owner. The Packers run this thing off of standards and their process, and the standard might not be known yet because you don't know where Tua falls.
I'll tell you this. If I could be anybody in this whole situation, I would love to be Dak's agent. Because I would
he's
just
smiling,
say,
yeah.
take us out of the mix. We're not signing. We're going to play out our deal with Dallas. And then Dak Prescott should become the next Kirk Cousins.
Well, in Pipe Bomb, you're absolutely right. Dak's the one sitting back there. I'm going to play. I'm going to go out there. And this season is whatever, unless the Cowboys pay me 60. If the Cowboys give me 60, then I'll extend. But if they don't, then I'm not doing it. And he's sitting back there and he's saying, I could probably get 60 if Tua would sign for 57 and then Jordan Love signs for 58 or vice versa. Then then the Cowboys would probably look and say, well, there's the market. So we'll give you 60. It's a standoff right now between Jordan Love's contract getting done and Tua Tagovailoa's contract getting done. And it's all hinging on what Trevor Lawrence just got.
Kurt and Grafton. Kuhn, you hit it on the head. The three teams are all waiting on money for these three guys to be similar. And now it's all let's play chicken and see how long we can poo-poo your season, starting to come up as camp sits, waits, and slow starts will cost games with injuries because you're not in game shape right out of the gates. That's going to be fascinating to see how ready these guys are to be able to play. And speaking of the aforementioned Kirk Cousins, news out that Kirk Cousins now fully medically cleared to go for day one of Atlanta Falcons practice. You just look at where Kirk was a year ago, John, before he ends up getting hurt. He was number one in like every offensive statistical category of quarterbacks.
Yes, he was.
It's going to be fun to watch down there.
He was humming. And I seem to think he doesn't have Justin Jefferson down there, but he's got a boatload of weapons. Justin Jefferson was like Devontae Adams. You could just, hey, I don't know where to go. I'm throwing here. He's got some weapons down there now that they can work with.
414-799-1973. All right. I apologize. I got sidetracked there. I just got a message from a friend of mine. And I wonder if this has ever happened to you cats. He is on vacation, enjoying a family vacation, just about to the destination, 3+ hour jaunt to the destination. Forgot his wallet.
Ooh.
What do you do at that point?
How do you get on a plane without a wallet? Don't you need an
driving
ID?
destination.
Oh.
That's the issue.
Yeah, he's gonna have to hook up Apple Pay immediately.
There's gonna be a lot of tapping going on this trip. I can only imagine. Or maybe you just go on scholarship. Maybe you just quickly are saying, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I'll get you guys on the way back, right? Can I get you an IOU one?
Let's run a line of debt.
Can I get you an IOU, right? An IOU, I'll just write that slip. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Just peel that off. Here, there's the IOU. Just make sure that you keep those safe in your wallet as long as possible. All right, we are going to have a can't miss on the other side of the break. We're going to hang out with Justin Arnett, VP of Digital Gaming at Potawatomi Casino Sportsbook. So we're going to give our pick during that. We're going to fire our Coons can't miss at that particular point in time on the other side of the timeout. But before the timeout at 414-799-1973, you have a chance to win State Fair tickets. Woo, doggies. 4-pack of tickets, bargain book, State Fair, August 1st through the 11th. I got to dust off my State Fair shirt that we got from Jen last year. That awesome cow one that we were rocking.
That was the best.
Yeah.
Nothing says Wisconsin like a good old State Farm shirt.
Throw a big old cow on that State Fair shirt and just walk around.
State
and then
Fair.
also, don't
State
worry
Farm
about it.
too.
The
State
State Farm
Farm,
too.
State
Yeah. Hey, like a good neighbor. Come on. The good neighbor in West Dallas is the State Fair. Caller number 4 to 414-799-1973. Going to get the 4-pack of tickets as well as a bargain book. Fantastic value. The Wisconsin State Fair firing up so soon. You can almost taste the cream puffs and the cheese curds 1 week away. It's 9 to noon. Justin Arnett, VP of Digital Gaming from Potawatomi Casino Sportsbook, sits in with a Coons Can't Miss right after this with John Kuhn, Billy Schmidt, Jeff Orlowski, you on the NicolaLaw.com talking text line. It's 9 to noon on the game. 9 to noon on the game. Thanks for hanging out with us. John Kuhn right over there. I'm Billy Schmid. And now joining us on the NicolaLaw.com talking text line, senior or vice president of digital gaming at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, our friend Justin Arnett joins us for a monthly conversation and update at Potawatomi. It's been too long. Justin, good to hear from you, man. How you been?
Oh, I've been great. It's always good to be with you guys. How you doing?
Fantastic, because we are luckily getting close and now anxiously awaiting our opportunity for a can't miss. But John, this guy's got to be feeling a lot better because when you were gone, I did not help. I did not help the streak that we were on the Coons can't miss, which is a negative one at the moment. So it makes sense why Justin wants to come in here and maybe potentially gloat here for a couple of minutes because we haven't been victorious in a couple of days.
It's been a rough stretch here, Justin. It's hard to pick bets. We had an all-star break. We didn't get a whole lot of stuff off the all-star. Started having to bet NBA Summer League games. I mean, what kind of action have you been seeing down there with, now we're about to get things kicked off with the Olympic Games, but what have people been really playing on in the dead part of summer?
Yeah, well, first I want to say, how do I get you back on vacation? But after that, they've been betting the summer league, table tennis. There's always that going on. You've got all sorts of stuff. They actually, maybe the opening ceremonies are tomorrow, but the Olympics actually started yesterday. We've got some, soccer. I was watching rugby sevens this morning. It's it's kind of fun. So people are already starting to bet that. Of course, now we got baseball back in session, so there's always that going on.
So, Justin, as also we're getting ready for, let's be honest, what the real season is when it comes to sports investing. Football season is right around the corner.
100%.
I know people love betting over unders, spreads, and player props have continued to jump up, but how much action have you guys seen on future tickets where people are just getting excited for maybe it's win totals, maybe it's division winners? I'm seeing just these reports now from MGM where they're saying like Aaron Rodgers reports to training camp. They went from plus 270 to win the division to plus 185. So people are betting it. Are you guys getting a lot of action on those future tickets so people get a full season investing interest in the teams?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're firing. Already we have of course we're going to take a lot of Packers action. So we already have I've already racked up a pretty sizable liability if they were to win the Super Bowl. With a lot of optimism out there with Jordan Love have such a great year last year. So, if that happens, there's going to be a lot of happy people around Milwaukee, not just because their team won, but because their pockets are a little fatter.
How has that changed the odds?
Well, so we work, our vendor who does the Kambi, we use Kambi's trading services. So they're not only nationwide, they're an international company. So honestly, it doesn't move the odds that much. We don't really move the odds based on our localized action. They move it based on what's happening in the world and the worldwide market. So, it doesn't even really move the odds. We give you a fair number on what is out there.
That's fascinating, Justin. That means that you guys get to cash in and reap the rewards if the Packers don't win it, but you hold all the cards if the Packers do lose it, and you guys got to pay out on that end and make the area around Milwaukee really happy. How about the cheating scandal in women's soccer? You brought up what happened, or you brought up the fact that Olympic soccer has started. Have you seen the Canadian drone that was spying on, I believe it was Team Denmark? And already a couple players and a couple people have been sent back to Canada because they were cheating on Team Denmark. Do you still have that lineup?
And I don't know. I don't know how I missed that. When did this come out? I don't know how I missed that, but no, I didn't see that. I'm gonna have to look that up. But Team Canada is playing right now, and we have a lineup for them, so I guess it didn't affect that for the women.
Yesterday, it got announced that they were caught with a drone spying on their opponent's team's practice. It was basically Bill Belichick enhanced type Spygate. Yes.
Wow.
I'm not a soccer expert, but what do you gain from a drone at a soccer practice? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna know those you're gonna know those corners, and you're gonna know how close they are to almost scoring goals almost every Not really every time. Yeah, Justin, sorry, I don't know if you can tell. I'm not a big soccer guy. I couldn't get into the Copas. I wanted to get into the Euros. I couldn't. I did make a vow that I wasn't going to invest on preseason football. That's probably going to get broken a week from now when the Hall of Fame game starts up, and you guys already have lines up for the Hall of Fame game. Will that be like people tapping around on an appetizer? Like they'll nibble in on preseason, or is that just for the real sickos like me that are excited to just get some kind of pigskin action?
Well, yeah, it just gives you something to, root for when the game's on. It's just, for entertainment, really. I don't know how much of an edge you're getting. If you're handicapping the fourth stringers versus the third stringers on the two different teams, I mean, you're a better man than me. But week 2, when the starters get a lot more play, I think there's a lot more of an edge to be had. But, week 1 and week 3, when they're resting people and you just don't know, unless you know coaches' tendencies, boy, it's tough to really, you have to be really dialed in to get an edge on that, in my eyes.
Billy, does Baltimore still have that like 15, 16 game win streak going on in the preseason?
Lost it last year, I believe.
Last game, right?
I think it was the last game of last year's preseason.
Yeah, that was one that I'm sure was difficult for you guys to handicap.
That's always on it.
That's a coach's. We're going out here to win the preseason games. Justin, how about NFL futures for MVP, Rookie of the Year? Anything popping up on that end?
I haven't seen too much come across my radar as far as like huge liabilities or anything. So there's no doubt that the bets are coming in, but honestly, I haven't kept a real close eye on what those liabilities are for like those kind of futures markets.
I would think Jordan Love has a pretty decent payout based off of his really lack of time. But man, I could see a lot of people jumping on that with the way he finished last season.
Why not? I mean, he's a talented guy. I was watching him back at Utah State. I was really impressed with him in college, and doesn't surprise me whatsoever that he's having a good pro career. His read and react is outstanding.
Currently, the 6th odds-on favorite for the MVP awards at Potawatomi Sportsbook, Jordan Love, 14-1. That is plus 1,400 for those that are wondering. That is just in front of Jalen Hurts at 15-1, and your boy Brock Purdy, 16-1, sitting there in front of Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott, 18-1. No love for Dak. Guy was number 2 in balloting a year ago. That's an interesting one. And Aaron Rodgers comes in right there at 20-1 at plus 2,000. I got one other one here, Justin, away from the NFL before we get to our can't miss pick. The college football futures. I love the fact that you got all the different conferences. You got Biletnikoff winners, Doak Walker Award winners. One of my favorite things now in college football, and this year is going to be even more exciting to do, is make the college football playoff. With the expansion, the odds are very, very different. Have you guys seen some dabbling in there? Because you can also get your money in time for playoff football time. That's one of my other reasons why it's my favorite future.
There's money coming in. I haven't seen too much notable, really, that's, again, blowing up my radar. The fact that unfortunately, the regulations are such that we can't take the local teams, but which is unfortunate. We can't take Wisconsin, but so I think that has a dampening effect. But, if you think somebody outside of the state of Wisconsin can win it, you get some pretty good value.
Yeah, sorry, Justin. I'm doing the post-game show on the Badger Network. They're not going to the college football playoff. I apologize.
Brutal. I did see that they're selling beer in the stadium.
They are. Yes.
I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, thank God. We're going to need to be able to get a couple of cold ones at Camp Randall. Because it's needed. It's too hot there. And Absolutely. Hey, maybe, John, that's how you get the students involved. Maybe that's how they get in there a little bit earlier, because my last beer isn't going to be at 10:40 and I have to wait until 3:30 to be able to go get another one. That might change some things.
Especially with the lineup of opponents that they got coming in there this year. Bill.
Big time.
Maybe we'll be jumping around in the second quarter. I don't know.
That's what I'm talking about, Justin. That's what I'm talking about. All right, we need to be able to do that, but the best thing and best way to jump around is with a little bit of money in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you heard it here from Justin Arnett. We got all kinds of stuff getting ready to kick off. NFL futures, the Olympic Games, the 3M Open, UFC fight this weekend, all kinds of things for you to play down there at the Potawatomi Casino Hotel Sportsbook. 2,000 square foot LED screen and stadium seating. It feels like you are watching the game in the actual stadium when in fact you're in perfectly air-conditioned, serviceable environment with a great menu and all kinds of food and drinks at your disposal. And let's say this, we got one more real week of pure baseball. We'll start betting the Olympics next week. I'm not going to go to table tennis. I know nothing about table tennis. I don't really know anything about the Olympics, but we're going to go with baseball today, Justin. Atlanta Braves rolling into New York to take on the Mets, who have been quite hot as of late, winning 11 of their last 15 games. But Chris Sale's on the mound for the Braves. I think Chris Sale and this Atlanta Brave team, who I think only has about a 1-game lead over the Mets for second there in the NL East. This is a pretty big game for the Atlanta Braves. I'm going to pick them money line, though. I don't like the 1.5 runs because the Mets have been on fire. Atlanta Braves money line for the win for a can't miss. What do you think there, Justin?
Anytime you're fading the Mets when it matters, I'm not against it. The track record's kinda-
Sometimes
Yeah,
you got to
the
pick
track
for the
record's
fun
kinda
of it. Sometimes you got to
Oh,
pick
yeah.
with your heart. Forget the brain, pick with your heart, fade the Mets, take
Yep.
the Braves, money line here today. 1.5, too many runs there for an away team. But I do like Sale on the mound.
That's outstanding stuff. I love that. And Chris Sale on the mound has been a serious one so far here this year. Justin, anything else you want the folks to know here before we let you go? We'll check back in before football season. We're going to check in before football season and see if we're all systems go ready to roll for week 1 of the regular season while we're getting this, little spinach and artichoke dip appetizer of preseason football.
No, that's pretty much it. That's what we're trying to do is everything tip top. We're making some small changes with some of the seating and some other things, trying to create a reservation system and stuff. So when we know it's going to be the crowds of football and, so we're trying to finalize that and get our operations ready to go for when it really starts. But in the meantime, it's just the Olympics, which, I love Olympics action myself, country versus country. It's just a fun 2 weeks. So I'm pretty excited for that.
I can't believe they're doing games before the opening ceremonies. There just sounds like something wrong with that. However, you listen,
We can't.
I don't understand all the IOC.
You're excited for that. I'm excited for a little bit of Little League World Series action. If only we could bet on that. Yeah, it's that time of year again. Baby. It's that time of year again.
Be careful.
Well, we can,
Gonna get me in trouble.
No, we're not going to get you in trouble. I'm just going to go over to Shuts Park and do it on our off time. Justin, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time. We'll talk soon.
It's been great. Thanks, fellas.
Vice President of Digital Gaming, Justin Arnett over at Potawatomi Sportsbook. John, I'm so glad you said the same thing. Dude, I turned the TV on when I walked into the Iron Jock Studios here today, and it was the Little League World Series regional softball. I got fired up.
It's that time of year. I mean,
Awesome.
It's time for player interviews.
Yes.
I hit dingers. My favorite player is
Come on, Connecticut.
Soto. All kinds of good stuff here with the Little League World Series. It is, it's one of the things we would have on every training camp all day long.
Really? That was
Oh, yeah.
that was the viewing during training camp. I love that so much.
Yeah. So there was a couple things that we'd get really tuned into. Obviously, every 4 years, the Olympics, the Summer
Fair.
Olympics.
Oh, I thought you
would
meant
be
the
on
election.
dur-
Okay. Sorry. I apologize. Right in the middle of your
That's not during training camp,
I'm
Billy. That's not
sorry.
every 4 years we'd get fired up for the Olympics, but every year training camp, it was a rite of passage. Little League World Series. What team you taking? Who you got? Let's go, baby.
I love it. It's going to be on here in the Iron Jack Studios now until they finish that bad boy in Williamsport. It's
Now for 15 more minutes. As soon as you walk out that door, it's getting flipped off.
well, no, I'm in here for a couple more in the
What do you-
crossover,
what do
so
you-
I get 30 minutes. Come
What
on,
are you flipping it to,
children.
Pipe Bomb? What are you flipping it to, Pipe Bomb?
Well, I flipped it to replays of old NASCAR races and
That I was interested in. I was okay with
old
that.
Armin Sarian. We
Oh, yeah.
see ya.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
There is Jeff Sarian Pipe Bomb hanging out with us here today. Our takeaway of the day going to come from our friend Armin Sarian because while he's not working, those Twitter fingers are rocking, and he's starting fights already on Twitter on paternity leave. Our quick trip takeaways of the day. We'll round third, head for home coming up next year, 9 to noon on the Game. Round third, head for home. Our Quick Trip takeaways of the day brought to you by Quick Trip. Need something for dinner tonight? Don't cook. Stop by your local Quick Trip. Pick up a freshly prepared, absolutely delicious take-home meal. You might even find the spicy chicken sandwich that your boy ended up snagging yesterday, spaghetti, chicken Alfredo, meatballs, maybe a salad. Probably not a salad. Yeah, probably not a salad. But if that's something that you're interested in, they have that as well over at Quick Trip. So go pick up a freshly prepared, absolutely delicious take-home meal today from Quick Trip. So we got a couple of takeaways, John Kuhn, here from the day. First off, our guy Armin Sarian can't stop working. He loves to be scrapping. He loves to be fighting because I had retweeted the Diana Rossini post from earlier today that started our conversation about Jordan Love's contract again here today. The Packers fans and many around the league are all waiting to hear if Jordan Love's new big contract is complete, writes Diana. Based on my conversations today, it's all making progress and heading there. Just not done yet. Some guy responded, I don't get the potential payout for the small sample size. Matt Flynn had better starting numbers, never got paid. Huh. Armin Sarian. Seahawks paid him. You talk about small sample size, then reference Flynn as a starter? Come on. There you go, Armin. Boy is in mid-season form with those Twitter fingers.
Oh, he's going to get his shots in, though. He's going to let you
ready
know.
for him.
And
He is ready.
He probably follows that guy because he's a Providence fan. I feel very confident in that.
So that one was going to be our Quick Trip takeaway of the day. Then Jim Harbaugh enters the chat. Coach, what's it like being back in the NFL? What's it like day one of NFL training camp, Jim Harbaugh? What? Finally feels good to have it happen. That's a gem. I'm so glad he's back in the NFL, John. That's outstanding.
Oh, we're going to get a lot more of that.
Oh,
where that
my
came
God.
from. Yeah, we're going to. Jim Harbaugh this year is
Thank
going
you.
to be a pleasure.
More quotes like that, they're going to ask him to drop out of the race too.
You had to do it. We almost got through 3 hours.
hours we
And you
almost made it.
had to do it, Pipe Bomb. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
my God.
Thank you.
That's how you tie a bow on a bad boy right there, John. Goodness gracious.
They
All
don't call
right.
him Pipe Bomb for nothing. He likes
Nope.
to blow things up.
Got to drop one. Got to drop one. That's Jeff Orlowski. He's going to be on the Mike Heller Show coming up next. John Kuhn and I are going to be up at Ray Nitschke Field tomorrow, 9 a.m. from Packers practice. Day number 4. Well, technically day 5. They had an off day in between here. Practice number 4. We're there for it live tomorrow, 9 to noon. We'll try to be better on the game.